The bot's running. That's good. All right, we're gonna pop into the intermission screen real quick here. And we're gonna just chill out here for a second. I am powering up the game. If Steam will let me. Hi, Tox. All right, I'm making sure everything's running. It should more or less seems to be. So I'm gonna go ahead. I think I can probably close my browser version of YouTube. I should be able to just run things in here. Hi, Tox. Okay, yes, I can see you in my chat window. That's good. That's good. Hello, hello. How are the Phasmo games? Oh, I died every time. I'm real bad at it. We also couldn't get a single ghost right. Like, dude, I had some sound-ass arguments for what it was, and then Phasmo was like, fuck you, it's a Raiju. And I was like, but it literally acted like a banshee. What the hell do you mean? It was stupid. But we had fun, and that's what matters in the end. Oh my god, my neck. Plus, I got to play with Magus and Aiko. So, it was a good time. F. Yeah, it was a bit of an F, but that's okay. I guess I can self-promo in. That's not the link that I wanted. Hold on. That one. Okay. As long as I had fun. Yep. Alright, let's go back to the main screen here. Oh, let me turn off the read avatars. Okay. And we can turn off the... I can't turn off the chat because it's part of the overlay. Hold on. I didn't think this through. I forgot that I still had my my overlay up from Raid Night. See, that's why I was trying to make my chat thing a separate widget. But it's okay. There we go. Oh, and I gotta change the camera. Oh my god. Everything's fine. Yeah, new buddies. It's a good time. Alright, let's get to this Schnikey. It's really quiet. Is it audible like at all on stream? I remember having this problem before where I felt like I couldn't hear the game when I was watching one of the VODs back. Like, I was super loud and the game was like really quiet. Let me know what you hear, Tox. Or don't, I guess. Or what you don't hear. I can kind of see it peeking through on the desktop audio sometimes. And the voices I turned up a lot, so... Game is quiet. Well, it's just that... Oops. I hate that it does that. It's just the background music right now, so if it's still really quiet during the actual game, then let me know. Stop! Go to the main menu, because I said so. We're gonna load my game. That's fine. Yeah, keep letting me know if you can't hear anything. Oh god, I honestly don't remember where we were. I think we're about to talk to Ezra about all the shit that's been happening with the James ghost in our head. You can kind of hear the music. Well, honestly, I'm not really worried about the music. I more want you to be able to hear the voices when we're dialoguing with the characters. So, when we get to the first voiced section, let me know. Okay, it's better on the music. That's good. Okay. I'll see. Okay, I think it's been a minute since I played this section of the game. I'm pretty sure we are at the part where, yeah, Alcar was like, go to Ezra. And he wanted to make sure he can trust us. Oh, yes, he gave us the scrap of cloth that he found in the woods. That's a sash from a dead hunter. And yes, we said we had our cheesy goodbye outside the inn to Finn. Yeah. Okay, so I think we came to Ezra's shop to talk to him about the voice in our head and the thing that Alucard gave us, which all we know about it is a piece of a sash from a fellow hunter that is very bloody and probably long since dead. The shop is empty when I arrive, that comforting tinkle of the bell that sits above the door welcoming me. Ezra is nowhere to be seen, but I do spot a small white cat curled up at the foot of the shop counter. A curious creature, one that gives off the same soothing, magical aura as her assumed owner. The purple curtain that separates the shop and living quarters twitches, and Ezra emerges, clutching a cup of steaming tea.
I'm so relieved to see that you're okay.
Okay, I feel like that was pretty loud. Was that okay? Or was that like way too loud? I want to make sure I adjust it now before we get too far into it. I'm relieved that I'm okay too. Thanks, Ez. Ooh, Voice is good? Okay, thanks. I just wanted to make sure. The cat's ears twitch at the sound of his voice, and she stretches, sauntering over to him and parading herself in between his legs. He ignores her, moving to place his tea upon the counter. I heard that you had to depart the festival quite abruptly. We were all worried. But not a bad thing, hard to tell since you aren't talking at the same time. Okay. I nod politely, offering him a clipped smile. I did, unfortunately. I hope you've had enough rest. You look exhausted. Not that I'm surprised after what I assume was an incredibly late evening. Would you like some tea? The sash feels heavy in my coat, and as much as I enjoy exchanging pleasantries with the witch, I'm here for a reason. Hi, Aiko! I saw your tweet. I think it was very sweet. And thank you for the fun games. I know you're planning to go to bed soon, but I appreciate you stopping by. Mwah! I don't have a good emote for Soul Kitten is Aiko talks. It's Aiko because I know you won't necessarily know how to spell that by me just saying it. I tilted my head to itch my eyeball and it hurt. Yes. We don't need anyone ending up like Impulsive Robot earlier and calling you Akai. Mwah! Hehe. Oh, yes. I actually need your help with something quite urgent. You do? What is it? Both the cat and Ezra watch me intently as I retrieve the sash, the violet, bloodied fabric unfurling as I hold it up. Yeah, Aiko is the one who made all my stuff. You might remember me mentioning her. So she made the pretty overlay and everything. The cat hisses, her hackles raised as she darts into the back room. That, paired with the look on Ezra's face, unnerves me, and I sigh heavily, exasperated as he rushes past me to lock the front door. Deadbolt and all. He faces the door, his palms splayed flat upon the window pane. It glows a pleasant shade of blue as he whispers what I assume to be a ward incantation before he turns to join me. Though we're quite clearly alone, his voice is tactfully quiet. I thought you were talking to me. No, I was just reading the game. Sorry, babe.
Where exactly did you get that?
I really love Ezra. The words rush out of him, and his aura is panicked, so much so that I begin to feel a terrible sense of unease washing over me. Ezra is the one person I truly had no hesitation about trusting from the start. Someone I thought I could rely on, but I find myself questioning his intentions. Could he possibly already know who this belongs to? And if so, how? Alcar found it in the woods last night. He told me to bring it to you, and only you. He runs a hand through his curls, and I notice that it's shaking. I'm just going to DM you the question now while I'm thinking about it because I saw your DM. Alert. I don't have... Discord? Schmooch him? I mean, the game gives me the option to smooch him and Finn simultaneously. Like, the choice is there. Ezra, are you okay? A heavy exhale, and he closes his eyes, shaking his head before he meets my gaze.
I don't think you understand. This puts us all in danger.
Danger? I don't understand. It's just a sash. I simply hoped you could identify who it belonged to. You're aware of who its owner is, I assume, based on your reaction. I play dumb, disguising my interest and the fact that I know it's not the new victims. If he's hiding something, I'll find out. He moves around to the other side of the counter, nervously rearranging a pile of glowing crystals and pushing aside a dish filled with colorful gems. He spares me a glance as he takes a seat, and then he forces a smile. What is going on? There's a lot of thumping around. Thumping. I have an inkling, yes. May I? He holds out his hand, which I observe is now perfectly steady. I'm hesitant to part with the scrap after that little display of uncertainty, but he seems to have collected his thoughts. Are you sure? He nods, wiggling his fingers impatiently.
As sure as I'll ever be. Now, let us get this over with.
All right, sure is. As soon as the sash meets his palm, a bright emerald light emanates from his fingertips. The fabric hovers midair, suspended by vibrant whirls of magic. The movement of Ezra's hands is fluid, like water, as he... What? That cadence was weird. The movement of Ezra's hands is fluid like water as he commands his spell. I watch in awe as a mark forms before him, indecipherable shapes shifting and changing. His eyes are alight, brighter than ever as the blood that coats the sash seems to pull away from the fabric, suspended alongside his magic. It's beautiful, a truly impressive display, but I ensure I don't take my eyes off of him for even a second. His lips part, his brow deeply furrowed as he concentrates. He doesn't look pleased, and I'm not entirely sure exactly what he's doing, but whatever it is, I just hope that it helps. This is the first solid piece of evidence I've managed to get my hands on, and I refuse to rest until I get a name. A sharp inhale, and Ezra closes his eyes tight, the magic dissipating, and the sash falls and settles upon the wood. He drops his head, his knuckles tight as he grips the edge of the counter. I had a feeling. Ezra, work with me here. I need you to be honest. He looks scared, maybe even a little upset.
This is way bigger than me, but I can't in good conscience keep this from you.
Better not. Oh. I'm not sure if he's talking directly to me or if he's reassuring himself. I suspect it's the latter. I try to remain calm, and I truly am unsurprised that yet another person in this town has managed to refrain from divulging potentially valuable information. This sash belongs to a girl named Aya Walker. He pushes away from the counter, putting distance between himself and the sash, eyeing it warily. And who exactly is Aya Walker?
I really shouldn't say anymore. I would hate for any harm to come to you because of me.
Harm? Who would harm me over something as insignificant as a name? I'm growing increasingly more frustrated as the minutes pass by, and Ezra can tell. I know he's not stupid. If anything, he's too smart. I suppose he's just looking out for himself, but whatever knowledge he's retaining is clearly valuable, and I must know. I think back to what Omen said only a few nights ago, about Finn visiting less, about Ezra being tired all the time. Is this connected somehow? I'll protect you, Ez. I cannot stop myself from going to him. The way he stares at the sash and the way all color drains from his freckled cheeks has my heart aching. Ezra, it's okay. I'll never let anything happen to you.
I worry about you. I know that sounds foolish, but I care for you. I will not be responsible for you getting hurt.
My heart. My heart, dude. He wraps his arms around his waist, almost as if he's trying to hold himself together. Dude, I've done that. I feel that. Yes, we must protect the Ez. Ezra is too good. He deserves every good thing. I reach out with a tentative hand, and he steps forward. Without hesitation, I wrap my arms around him. Our bodies seamed from shoulder to waist to hip. Let Finn attack. Yeah. Though, I mean, Hunter MC also attacks. He buries his face in the crook of my neck, his hands splayed on my back, his fingers curled tightly in my clothing. I hold him until I'm sure that he's not going to fall apart, until I know that he feels safe. Thank you. We reluctantly part, and I register the way his cheeks have darkened, his green eyes bright. Anytime. Ezra eventually shifts his weight, his breathing steadier than it had been, and he clears his throat.
Aya was a general. She was relatively new in town after being transferred here and was arrested quite suddenly. No one outside of the enforcers knows why. Some dirty little secret.
Hunters, especially... Hunters, especially of a general's rank, are very rarely thrown in the dungeons for minor transgressions. We're too valuable, so what did she do? I don't know what to do with this information. A young general being thrown into the dungeons is alarming, especially when there's no apparent reason. Treason, murder, unlawful torture, these are all things that I know hunters have been imprisoned for, but never without the public having full knowledge. Such events are not usually quiet ones. We have families and friends. We save lives. There must be something, somewhere, that tells me why she was stripped of her title and thrown in a cell. I take the sash from the counter and tuck it back inside my coat, and Ezra keeps a close eye on the movement, as if it may jump out and bite him. Who is her enforcer? Ezra throws me that look again, the one where he looks sad and reluctant. Gus. Of course, because I didn't have enough on my plate already. He quickly scrambles to add to his statement, clearly not wanting me to think ill of August.
Only in the interim while her transfer was processed. She and Piper hit it off quite quickly, but she was gone before she had a chance to thrive.
I take a step towards the door, and Ezra nervously follows. Where are you going? He looks like he wants to reach out and stop me, but he thinks better of it. I am going to clear my head before... I don't know. I reach to turn the locks, then for the handle, watching his wards shimmer and fade as he reluctantly waves his hand. Something begs at me to pause. Tell me, why are you so afraid?
I'm scared to learn the truth. I've only ever wanted to find somewhere to settle, somewhere quiet and away from the things that gave me nightmares. I found that here. I found love, a family, and yet...
Nothing lasts forever? He shakes his head.
Everything crumbles, eventually. That's why I'm afraid. I just want a normal life.
Well, I'm gonna just tell you now, living in Lenoris, no such thing as a normal life. We stare each other down for a lingering moment, and I truly feel sorry for him, for everyone in this town. I assume that associating yourself with creatures doesn't grant you much peace. It does not. I drop my head, my mind swimming. People are dying and being thrown in dungeons. I've got your back, Ezra, just as long as you have mine. Thank you. Just stay safe. We need you. Chill air hits me as soon as I open the door of Ezra's shop and step outside. It hisses in my ears, piercing through my layers like it wants to chase me back indoors. I can think of no alternative more enticing, but my work is done here and I need to move on. Not a moment less well-timed, it seems, as I close the door and immediately notice a familiar face skulking about just out of my vision until now. Omen startles when he realizes that I've spotted him. He takes a full step away from me, one hand half raised, his tail lashing like a snake. For reasons I can't even begin to fathom, there's genuine fear on his face. Omen. I take a moment to look him over. Omen seems, by all accounts, unhurt. At least he isn't hurt enough that it interferes with his glamour, despite his obvious distress. Under my scrutiny, Omen takes a half step back, hugging himself, and I hasten to put him at ease. He isn't an enemy, least of all one I'm willing to make. It's all right. I was just surprised to see you is all. Oh. Omen looks away for a moment, embarrassed. Then he offers me a half smile, visibly relaxing.
I've been hiding. Things seem to be tense right now.
I can't help but sigh at that. That's one way to put it. I gesture vaguely at him. But what about you? You seem to be in a hurry. Is something wrong? Omen's eyes widen. He opens his mouth, doesn't say anything for a moment, then shuts it. I'm looking for someone. Omen says this very quietly, like he's confessing a secret. Oh. He scans my face with eyes flickering red, rather than the usual warm brown. I wait, since there's little else I can say. Then something seems to resolve. Omen looks from me to Ezra's door, then takes a step back, his mouth tight.
She's probably not in there. I should get going. It's nice seeing you again.
He makes to turn away, and I don't know what moves me to act. Perhaps it's his aura, the way I suddenly sense it swell under his glamour and spot the wisps of flame trailing from his hair and the tips of his ears. Perhaps he's walking away and I simply can't let him go right now. Perhaps I'm tired of one more fucking mystery in this town. Either way, I reach out and grab his wrist. Wait! And instantly regret it. Heat scorches my hand, forcing me to withdraw with a small cry. Omen looks over his shoulder at me with glowing amber eyes, his lips drawn back in a half snarl. His still eerily human face is framed by a wreath of fire. My guts clench, twist, drop under the sudden glimpse of an immense, blistering presence that sprung out of nowhere. My instincts scream at me in warning. I hit the wrong button. Demon. Then Omen jerks back, as though out of a trance, and everything extinguishes. I don't know how long we stand outside Ezra's shop with the space of a sword's swing between us. Omen's arms are limp by his sides, making no move to defend himself. All he does is stare at me with huge eyes and palpable horror.
I'm sorry.
I force my mouth open to tell him it's all right. I've had worse, really, but I can only pry my jaw apart. The words I can't force through. He's not waiting to hear them. He's stepping away. 1, then 2, then 3, and he turns around and flees. I can't move my legs to follow. By the time I get enough control of myself back, Omen's already long gone. In hindsight, I'm glad I couldn't follow him. It takes a tremendous effort for me to pry my stiff fingers from the comfort of my weapon. I'd been sitting in my room at the Wolf waiting for the sun to set, waiting for darkness to fall so I can carry out my next move. No messenger had come to summon me to headquarters, and neither had August come to bang down my door. I gather that the identification of the deceased hunter is taking a little longer than expected. Or... Many dark things crossed my mind, but I pushed them away. I meant it when I said that I'm tired of being pushed from pillar to post, kept in the dark. Enough is enough. If this town wants saving, then I'll do it on my terms. The door to August's office is thankfully unlocked, and I'm pleased to discover that it's empty. The desk is in its usual disarray, papers and books haphazardly strewn across its surface. I take a deep breath and head straight for the filing cabinet I've seen August rummaging through so often, and I carefully open the drawers. Apparently, Piper has her own, a whole portion dedicated to her reports, an impressive feat. After much rummaging, I eventually find IS papers stuffed at the very back of the bottom drawer. If I didn't know what I was looking for, they'd have easily gone unnoticed. It certainly looks like August has tried to hide them, which only increases my suspicion. I find her transfer papers, a glowing letter of recommendation from her previous enforcer. Her records are clean, with no discrepancies. Nothing but praise. I see the words kind and thoughtful repeated multiple times, and the only complaint, if you can call it that her enforcer had is that she was overly cautious. Then I find it. Her discharge papers, an obnoxious red treason stamped across the front page. In the blink of an eye, the whole office lights up and the door loudly slams against the wall.
What are you doing?
God, that scared me. August, you scared the shit out of me, man. Which I guess is the intent. I watch magic coat every surface, flowing and curling over the walls, floor, furniture. It even creeps over their clothing, their skin too. They stare at me wide-eyed, vivid violets swallowing the once blue of their irises, and though I should be concerned that I've been caught, I'm distracted. August. The magic that glimmers upon their clothing disappears, and their eyes lose that otherworldly glow, but the room remains alight. They look at the bundle of papers that I hold tightly in my hand, a frown furrowing their brow.
I would ask that you put those back, Hunter.
I forgot you guys named me Hunter Raven. Oh, okay. Their words are eerily calm, and they seem more concerned than annoyed. What happened to her? They close the door, clicking the lock and checking the handle before they walk towards me. As poised and perfect as ever, they stare me down.
You know, not even Piper found those. I hate to admit that I'm impressed.
August. They unfurl their fingers in a silencing gesture, and I pause. August is still my superior officer, and I am nothing if not respectful. True? It's real.
I do not wish for Piper to be demoted, nor do I wish for you to meet the same fate, but I appear to be having a case of déjà vu. But, you know, sometimes the hand that feeds is a forceful one.
I'm perplexed. I expected a much harsher conversation. August isn't exactly known for their calm temperament, and this is startlingly out of character. Aren't you going to admonish me? With a sly smile, they shake their head. No, Hex, I am not.
I believe in you, strangely. I believe that you're a bright light at the end of a very, very dark tunnel for this town. And I have been questioning things lately.
Their uncertainty is startling. They've always seemed so sure, so confident. It's like a different person stands before me. Are they afraid too? I just want to know what happened. Their mouth twists and they sigh deeply. I don't know what happened. I am but a pawn. August, please. I let my frustrations show, the papers crumpling in my grip. She's rotting in a dungeon and no one knows why? Not even the one who signed her papers? A fierce, bright glow surrounds us, magic crackling at their fingertips. I did not sign them. They take a deep breath.
I couldn't do such a thing. This goes higher than me, far higher.
People are scared to even utter her name. They shake their head, and I notice that I can't get a read on their aura. I am no liar when I say I don't know. Something in my gut tells me this is really... Something in my gut tells me this really is all connected, and this doesn't exactly comfort me. The very institution that I work for, that I've dedicated my life to. I move to pull out the sash and let it unfurl, holding it before them, and August's eyes grow wide. Who does this belong to? Aya Walker. Their expression is unchanging. I see. It's bloodied. I nod, handing it to them. They carefully lay it across their palm, studying it intently. Heavily, and torn to shreds. Whatever happened, she put up a fight. They frowned, their lips pursed. Something is clearly perplexing them.
She was not reported to be injured upon her arrest. That much I do know. Something like that wouldn't be omitted.
I throw them a sorry stare, wondering how they could still be so sure of such things. You're positive the blood is hers? I want to tell them how I know, but I can't implicate Ezra nor Alcar, not after they were both so clearly terrified. I'm sure, and I'm going to need you to trust me on that. Strangely, they don't question it. Instead, they sigh, placing the sash upon their desk. She was yours, August. Don't you want to know what happened to her? I want to see her, to visit the dungeon. They glance out of the window, and another heavy snowfall coats the icy street outside.
I think you need to take a seat. I have a few confessions.
I can hear the rush of my blood pounding in my skull as I take a seat, my heart trying to escape the restrictive cage of my ribs as I stare my enforcer down. August's fingers are visibly trembling. All color has drained from their skin, and I'm fearful that they might faint. They draw in a shuddering breath and reach for one of the drawers in their desk, pulling out a vial that glows a vivid lavender. I recognize it from the very first time I met them back in Ezra's shop, which strangely feels like forever ago. The way they demanded it from him was with a desperation that I haven't seen in them since, but it stuck with me nonetheless. At first, I think they might pop the cork and swallow it whole, their eyes hungry as they shake it, watching the viscous liquid swirl and brighten. They don't, though. Instead, they place it in the middle of the desk. They proceed to sit on their hands, and I gather that it's a precautionary measure to prevent themselves from indulging. This feels like Cullen when he's trying to quit using lyrium. What is this? They clear their throat, unable to meet my concerned gaze. This is what I've been reduced to. Ezra gave this to you? They nod and I reach for the vial. They watch intently, their throat bobbing as they swallow thickly. The room flares to life as I pop the cork, and August shifts in their seat. It smells fragrant, almost citrusy. It's certainly not as unpleasant as I anticipated.
It is not harmful if used as intended. Ezra could never create such things. He is not interested in enabling me, but I may have pressured him. I may have taken advantage of it, hence the nature in which my magic has been manifesting lately. Just another thing to add to the long list of regrets I seem to have accrued lately.
Sorry, I was sending a message real quick. I look around the room, now understanding how such a display is possible. What does it do, exactly? I can feel a crackle in the air, an obvious shift in tension.
My magic draws from the mind, and when using it often I tend to grow weary faster than most. It's a weakness I'm not proud of, and I cannot be viewed to be weak when in such a position in this agency.
They gesture towards the vial, and I lay it back upon the desk. Therefore, this affords me the ability to replenish my mana, to put myself to use whenever required. Psionic abilities such as my own are rare, so I am required more often. There are quite obviously side effects, though. Your health is more important than your notoriety, August. They seemed taken aback by that statement, maybe even a little embarrassed. Yes, and I see that now.
I've been a little blinded by the desire to impress. But the harder I look, the more I realize that I might be pushing myself to the limit for a broken cause.
I blanch at that. Those words coming from August's mouth seem unreal. It's a casually honest statement. Painfully honest, even, and certainly not something that I could imagine the enforcer I met just a week ago daring to utter.
Too many questionable things have happened right under my nose. And I was too blinded by my determination to succeed to see.
Aya, Piper, the murders? We need to go back to the start. Examine the root. The root being the agency, the enforcers? With a small nod, they lift their eyes to the ceiling, speaking their next words with great effort. Yes, the enforcers. Then why bring me here? That I cannot answer. I wish I could. Let's ask about Piper first. You mentioned that you didn't want Piper to be demoted. So, what happened? Their gaze flickers to the side, staring out of the window at the snowy street. After Aya's arrest, Piper became unsettled. Rightfully so, now I look back.
She wouldn't stop rambling about a theory she had about the agency. Corruption, slander, all nonsense to me at the time. She was caught trying to break into the dungeons and rifling through my files. Just like you were this evening.
I clear my throat, offering them an apologetic grin. I was too infuriated to truly think straight, and before I got the chance to defuse the situation, Harry caught wind. I regret the way I dealt with it. Piper was a good friend before this mess began. I should have helped her. I let her down. Their gaze meets mine, and they somehow seem more concerned for me than they are for themselves. You and Piper, you were friends? Hard to believe now, I know. But yes, we were. Close enough for her to convince me to arm wrestle her. They absent-mindedly rub their elbow, as if they're nursing an old injury. Don't do that. Ever. The way they light up when they talk about such memories doesn't go unnoticed, and I feel a pang of sorrow for their lost friendship. They both seem like they could do with such company in their lives, and now I understand why they're noted as being so prolific as a team. You should speak to her and clear the air. The look they throw me is less than convincing.
Piper is a proud person. She's been wronged by someone she trusted, and she does not trust freely. I wouldn't expect her to forgive me without much begging, but I shall try.
I truly valued our friendship, and I've been cruel to her in my mission to please Harry. That ends now. Tell me about Aya. They rest their elbows upon the desk, steepling their fingers. There's not much to tell, really. She transferred here only a few months ago. We'd barely become acquainted when she was arrested, though Piper took a liking to her. A small smile crosses their lips. They worked well together, and I finally got to catch up on the ridiculous amount of paperwork I'd accrued during my time spent in the field with Piper. Why were you in the field?
Well, things have been a little busier than usual here in Linares lately. Creature activity has been at an all-time high these past few years, and Piper and I made an unstoppable team.
Throw? Hello? I contemplate that for a moment. For any peak in activity is usually for a reason. It's been worse the past few years? Not always this bad? They shake their head. Not always, but it almost seems normal now. Make a mental note to remember this, to pry later. So, her arrest. One day she was just gone? No explanation? It was reported that she went on an unsanctioned hunt. I wasn't aware, and neither was Piper. We never saw her again. I reach for the papers that sit upon the desk between us. Harry's signature is clear as day. You didn't question it? An uncomfortable shift. A squirm, almost. I did not. You don't question Harry. He's given me no reason to. I watch them carefully, the furrow in their brow deepening as they quite clearly second-guess their own statement. Something isn't right here. An Aya's situation feels too convenient to me. Don't you agree? With a sharp inhale, they sit back in their chair. A little of their tension seems to melt away, but the sadness still lingers. I do. August pushes away from their desk, swiping the still glowing vial as they stand. They cradle it gently in their palm before it's shoved firmly into the drawer from where it came. What next? What can we do? I think you should speak to Piper. She might know more than me, especially after her snooping. I stand too, my touch lingering upon those discharge papers. I want to go into the dungeons. I want to see her. They avert their gaze, cheeks rosy, their frustration evident.
I cannot authorize that. Not when I know it would put your position in jeopardy.
They thoughtlessly slide their hand across the back of their chair, cutting me a sympathetic stare. I can't have a repeat of what happened with Piper, Hex. I try my best to stop my own frustration showing. Please, August, I need you to trust me here. What if I can find a way to get down there undetected? A way neither of us will be implicated. Interest obviously piqued, they raise a dark brow at me. And how exactly do you propose you do that? With all due respect, Hunter Raven, you don't know the dungeons here. They're right, but... I smile, and they narrow their eyes at the change in expression. What do you have up your sleeve? Well, I happen to know a few people who can certainly be of use to us. I'm not sure you're going to like it, though. Go on. You may not approve, but we have a few allies that probably know the dungeons better than any hunter or enforcer ever could. The dramatic and sudden roll of their eyes tells me they know exactly who I'm talking about. You want to enlist a bunch of vampires to help us break into the enforcement dungeons? Hell yeah, I do. Not a bunch, just the one. Finn has lived in this town longer than literally anyone. August scoffs loudly. Lived. He's as dead as a doornail. So you're just going to walk into the dungeons, Casimir in tow, and hope not to get caught? I smile at their obvious distaste for my plan. Ezra, Piper, even Alcar, they can all help too. Do I have your permission to proceed? A pregnant pause follows my question, but eventually August meets my gaze once more. You have my permission. But please be cautious. I am no wiser than you here, and I cannot protect you if something goes wrong.
I came here to make something of myself. I was so desperate to move out of the shadows of my parents. I come from a family that held me to such high standards. Standards I could never dream of meeting, no matter how hard I tried.
Their words grow terser as the seconds pass, unraveling gradually.
I don't want this to be my legacy. I want to make the world a better place, not a scarier one.
I gather that August has suffered through much frustration, and life has weathered them to the bone. They quickly gather themselves. I won't let you down. I don't doubt that, actually. I head back to my room at the Wolf to clear my head, and to try and figure out my hastily concocted plan a little more thoughtfully. I stay up pondering the fact that we still haven't been given the name of the latest victim, and I wonder if Harry is keeping it from me for a reason. After my conversation with August, everything feels wrong. A quick, sharp pain rises in my temples. I feel that familiar presence lurking. Despite that, it would appear that no voices will visit me tonight. Because apparently nothing is sacred in this town, I managed to coax Piper's address out of Edna with very little persuasion. I head across the street, unsurprised that she lives so close to the tavern, and as far away from headquarters as possible. Her house is small, but it appears to have character, much like its owner. I take a deep breath and I knock. She looks surprised to see me, but her expression quickly softens.
I wasn't expecting you, especially because I assumed you had no bloody idea where I live. Are you okay?
A timid smile crosses my lips. I definitely don't think this is a conversation to be had in the street. Can we talk? Oh, sorry. Of course, come in. Her house is warm and inviting. The walls adorned with an abundance of gorgeous weaponry and various plants and brightly colored pillows litter the room. Your home is beautiful. Thank you. I've been lucky, really. I know not all hunters can catch a break like I have. Plus, real estate in this shithole is cheap. We share a laugh, but I can't help but feel a sense of urgency to discuss things with her. I decide now is not the time for pleasantries or stalling. Cutting straight to the chase is the only way. I have some news about Aya. Her eyes widen, flicking to the side, away from me. Aya.
Please don't say what I think you're going to.
I pull the sash from inside my coat and present it to her, but I'm quick to reassure. This was found in the woods, but that doesn't mean... She could still be alive, Piper. This has clearly been out there for a while. She reaches out and runs her hands over the ruined fabric, her fingers shaking. With a deep inhale, she withdraws, turning to sit upon the arm of her sofa. Why are you here? She looks so sad, like she's only thinking the worst. I don't blame her, and I can't imagine how frustrated she must feel with the hand she's been dealt. I wanted you to know that I spoke to August last night. They were quite honest with me about everything, really. Oh, they were,
I suppose they told you why I was demoted. I acted without rational thought. I was so angry.
I offer her a smile, trying to catch her gaze. I may or may not have been caught doing exactly as you did. You didn't. I nod, feeling a little smug now the fear of being reprimanded by my enforcer has dissipated. I broke into Augustus Willenheim's office and I lived to tell the tale.
Fucking brilliant. You've got guts. I'll give you that.
I shrug, brushing it off. I'm grateful that the mood has shifted to something that feels a little lighter. You know, August regrets how everything happened. They seemed wistful. I think they miss your friendship. She frowns deeply, fiddling with the edge of her tunic.
They hurt me. I think it'll take me a while to get over that. It wasn't even about the punishment. It was that they didn't believe me. You work with someone for all that time, but when it came down to it, they thought I'd gone mad. Why would I make up such a thing? Everyone jokes about us and our instincts, but they don't understand. When we feel something, we really feel it, you know?
I nod, because I do know. Whatever lies within us that grants us our abilities is something we cannot shake or ignore. If we sense someone is in pain or they're scared, we feel it in kind. If we love fully. If we can feel that something feels off, it usually is. They employ us to do what we do for a reason. I wish they'd have a better understanding of what or how we feel. She scoffs a quiet laugh, rolling her eyes and offering me a small smile. If only.
If August wishes to make amends, I welcome their apology, but it will take me a while to trust them again. I was humiliated and betrayed by one of my only friends. They've got some begging to do.
Now that I'd like to see. Shit, me too. I'll get you a front row seat if it ever happens, all right? Deal. Now, I have a proposition. Oh? Oh, I gotta flirt with Piper. Come then, what's this proposition, dear General? We're going into the dungeons. You what? She bursts into laughter, her shoulders shaking. Then a pause, and she registers that I might not be joking. Wait, you're serious? I can't help but laugh at her furious expression.
You're a real idiot, you know? Are you jealous of my shameful demotion or something? Being a major isn't that exciting. Why are you grinning like that?
I take her hand and she immediately tugs me closer. Because we're doing it together, so we'll be just fine.
You're so cheesy. I really don't know why I like you so much.
She shoves me away playfully, her eyes sparkling. So, come on then. What's this plan? I'm still putting the pieces together. You inspired me, though. Good to know some good comes out of my suffering, I suppose. Do you have any tips? Any kinks you encountered on your journey? The fact that I didn't even get to the door would indicate that I failed pretty miserably, wouldn't you say? There are wards. There are guards. It's pretty impossible unless... Well, you know Ezra, don't you? That witch is more than a pretty face. Speak to him. See if you can convince him to help. She's right. I've seen him use his wards in his shop, and from what I saw of his magic the other day... What? That doesn't feel like a complete sentence. I've seen him use wards in his shop, and from what I saw of his magic the other day. Okay, that's not a complete sentence. You're a genius. She shrugs, as if that was the most obvious statement I could have made. Duh. When you're ready, you know I've got your back. Always. Upon entering the shop, I find... chaos. I spot Ezra frantically gesturing at Omen, the demon's tail tightly coiled. I'm wary of approaching him after a little incident yesterday, instead choosing to observe from afar. I manage to catch Ezra's eye, and he throws me a sympathetic look. He's stressed, his hands full of bandages and potions. He mutters something quick and sharp under his breath to Omen, who then turns and stares at me with wide, sorry eyes as the witch disappears through his purple curtain. If I ask what's going on, will you give me an answer? The question seems to catch him by surprise. Then he looks away, his lips pursed. He doesn't seem to have forgotten his outburst with me yesterday, or his abrupt departure. Good. It isn't my intention to trip him with a reminder, but just as well that he remembers. Did you bring someone in who was hurt? Brown eyes snap to me almost instantly, and Owen moves as though to step between me and the entrance to Ezra's back room, then catches himself in the middle and forcibly drops his arms to his sides. He opens his mouth, stammers without speaking, then his shoulders droop in defeat. A little spark that might have caught on the bandage rolls in his hand peters out.
Yes, but maybe you shouldn't see her right now. I mean...
He licks his lips, a flick of his black tongue visible. It seems so eerily out of place on a face so painfully human in its distress.
At least let Ezra see to her first. He needs some space when he works his magic.
Then we have some time. I take a small step towards the door to block the exit, crossing my arms and projecting as stern an air as possible. There are too many secrets in this town, and I recall you telling me I am your best hope to solve your problem. I would hope you trust me enough to tell me what's going on. Omen freezes, his face falling. I need to shift in my chair, don't mind me. He looks away, mouth moving without a sound. It's a long, tense moment before he looks at me again. This time, he meets my eyes and takes a deep breath, then nods, clutching the medical supplies he's holding closer to his chest like he thinks they're a reliable barrier between us. Ooh, thank you. You're welcome. I have been delivered a sandwich. I forgot that we got Publix. Ooh, it looks tasty. The sight of it makes me feel something unpleasant. I wish Omen wouldn't fear me, wouldn't fidget, his tail lashing back and forth in agitation, shoulders tense, like standing before me is taking all of his courage. Still, it's as it should be. Suspects I've encountered in the past as a hunter. What is this sentence? This doesn't make sense. Still, it's as it should be. suspects I've encountered in the past as a hunter, and Omen resembles them all too much. The hint of power he let slip yesterday assures me he will make a terrible enemy. If he will be an enemy. But I really hope not. All right. It sounds almost like an admission, but Omen takes a deep breath, squares his shoulders, and begins to speak quietly.
2 years ago, I came to Lunaris. That is, I came to stay in Lunaris. After a disagreement with my sire, my father.
His eyes flicker around the room almost nervously, and I find myself straining to detect any eavesdropping presence. But there is none. Omen seems to find the same thing because his shoulders droop again.
You know what I am. I suppose you've already guessed.
He sighs.
Your people call him Lucifer, I think. The fallen divine. The Lord of Hells.
It takes me a moment to process what he said. Demon lore is plentiful and easily accessible when you're a hunter. Even in our early years at the Academy, we pored over detailed logs of their fiendish hierarchies, favorite vices to exploit, patterns of their appearances. I would damn well hope I know who the Lord of Hells is. Oh, that is very nice. Omen's brown eyes widen, his jaw going slack in surprise. The glamour truly is something, and I'm starting to wonder if he learned it from the witch behind the curtains. It is? He coughs.
That was sarcasm, wasn't it?
Yes.
That was not sarcasm.
No, it was not. Something else also hits me. Our sire? Omen bites his lip and looks away. Then he nods curtly, eyes flicking to the door leading into the shop. Well then. Does your father know that you're here, in the mortal realm? Can he find you? A terrible thought crosses my mind. The burned bodies the hunters targeted. No! The vehemence of his denial is startling. I quickly hold up my hands for peace, but Omen isn't paying attention. He's shaking his head vigorously, trembling.
No, that can't be him. Him or any of his minions. I would have known. I would have stopped them.
His brown eyes are glowing with fire as he stares at me pleadingly. Literal, simmering flames. I can feel the fire in his core standing here, far enough away, and now that I know where it comes from, the familiarity makes sense. That's one hell of a secret to hold on to. And who is that in the back, then? One more colossal fact to add to the messy little mountain of information I've been gathering since stepping foot into this mad town. What else is new by now? I believe you, Omen. Omen's shoulders droop in relief, and I feel something tense inside myself unclench as well. It needs not end badly. It will not. Besides, this case would have closed far faster if it were run-of-the-mill demons messing about. Right. Omen closes his eyes and says something too quiet for me to hear. Then he breathes in, breathes out, and slowly makes his way to the counter. He sets all the items in his arms down, there, with such deliberateness. He sets all the items in his arms down there, with such deliberateness I know he is doing it. Oh my god, why can't I read? What is going on? He sets all the items in his arms down there, with such deliberateness I know he is doing so to calm his nerves. Something sneaks through still. I see a flicker of flame about his hair, an intensity to his aura. But only briefly. The pressure fades as Omen raises his head. He doesn't look at me as he speaks.
I think I'll just head outside for some fresh air.
Are you sure? Omen smiles at me over his shoulder, the curve of his mouth tense.
I think it's for the best. I don't want her to see me like this, rattled and angry. She's my sister. She doesn't deserve it.
He trails off, staring into the distance for a moment. Then he shakes his head and makes for the door, only adding one last thing before he steps outside.
Will you go and say hello to her? I'm sure Elaine will find you quite lovely.
She's so cute! I love her. The second I lay my eyes on her, it's more than a little obvious that she truly is related to Omen. Maybe even his twin, unless the glamour is simply fooling me. Ezra has a poultice carefully pressed to her dainty hand, a pile of gauze covered in a thick black ichor discarded upon the counter by his side. She blinks at me once, twice. Her eyes are big and brown and every bit as earnest as Omen's. Hello. Her voice is disarmingly sweet, almost musical even. I smile at her politely, looking to Ezra for a little guidance. Elaine, this is Hex. Hex, this is Elaine, Omen's twin sister. Ah, yes. I assume Ezra was just as unaware of her existence as I am, but he's polite enough to stay calm and focused, as friendly and as hospitable as ever. It's nice to meet you, Elaine. Oh, you too. Elaine narrows her eyes at me for a brief moment, shaking her head. She looks terrified. She addresses Ezra, but she certainly keeps her eyes on me, on my weapon. Where is Armoros? I look at Ezra, my confusion quite evident. Armoros? Ah, yes, that. Her face lights up when I say his name, but I gather that she doesn't fully understand my trepidation. Ezra turns to address the demon, patting her hand gently. He's just outside, and you're all healed up. But I do think you should go and see your brother now. Okay. Yes. Yes, I should. Ezra releases her, throwing me a sorry look over his shoulder as he turns to quickly dispose of the mess of medical supplies. It was lovely to meet you, Hex. Her demeanor is delightful, and I'm still slowly processing exactly what her brother just told me. Yes, you too. She glances at me briefly before shyly averting her gaze, turning to meekly part the curtains that lead into the shop. The second she's gone, a tall, pale figure bursts through the back door. He looks shocked to see me, but quickly recovers. Is she healed? She's fine, and she's with her brother. I suggest you give them space for the time being. Ezra's words are final and somewhat stern, and Armoros quickly wilts under his vibrant green gaze, his eyes still lightly glowing from whatever magic he's just performed. I don't really know how to unpack all of this. What happened to her? Why are you so desperate to be by her side? He stares longingly at the curtain, Elaine's voice quiet on the other side. Then I remember the note on the stoop of the Ibeck, the little heart. Zeshewa. Well, I'm courting her, you see? We're together. She was attacked last night by it. The one that's been getting to your kind, I think. Ezra and I share a look, doing little to hide our shock. It? As in, the creature? Armoros closes his eyes, sighing heavily. Then he nods. Yes.
If you need to tell us something, we can help. Elaine didn't need to get hurt, so if you know where this thing is...
He looks at me, then back at Ezra, his throat bobbing as he swallows thickly. He's quite clearly battling with the idea of divulging any more information. Armoros, it's okay. You can trust us. We just want to help.
She's right. No one will know what you tell us. We just want people to be safe.
He sighs again, his shoulders sinking in defeat. I just want her to be safe. We can see you care for her a great deal, and we want that too. His ice blue eyes quicker flickly. His ice blue eyes quickly flicker between each of us, and it's the most animated I've seen him. Why are you being nice to me? My sister and I... He trails off, almost looking right through me. If you have information about the creature, we need to know. People are dying, so I find it hard to hold your beliefs against you if you can offer assistance. Very well. Aurora has been sneaking out at night as of late. That's not exactly uncommon for her, but I believe she's doing more than satisfying her baser urges. Ezra looks away, covering a quiet cough with his hand. We don't have time to unpack all of that, but I'll store it away for later. What do you suspect? I suspect nothing. I know that she's feeding it. Or something, at least. Feeding it? Mm-hmm. He seems unfazed. Startlingly so. She may seem cruel and cold, but Aurora has a good heart. She cares for the creatures and makes sure they're safe. Can I see Elaine now? Can you maybe elaborate a little on that first? He shrugs, sighing again. It is what it is. I don't dictate to her what she can and cannot do. I find myself losing interest in our preachings. I just want to keep Elaine safe now. Ideally, we'll leave this wretched place for good, but... Her and Omen have only just reunited. Would she be so quick to leave him? Maybe not. I think it's best for both of you to stay here and lay low. I'm not sure why the creature attacked her. It hasn't attacked anything in humans so far. He looks at me, fixes my gaze, and with perfect confidence, how do you know? A chill rolls along my spine, but I shake it off. You're right. I don't. I'd really like to leave now. You can leave, but I need you to promise me something. He narrows his gaze. Go on. Watch Aurora, and the second you see her do anything out of the ordinary, you find me. I will ensure Elaine is safe, I swear to you, but your cooperation is essential. I see Ezra shifting nervously out of the corner of my eyes, but I stand my ground. Armoros continues to assess me. Fine. I will seek you out, and I will watch my sister. Farewell, Hunter. Witch.
Well, that was interesting.
I anticipate some commotion from behind the curtains, but I hear nothing but silence. Interesting is putting it lightly. How are you anyway? I huff a quick laugh because that question feels far too casual for the amount of information I've digested in the last forever. Tired, confused, the usual. I suppose I haven't done much to help with that, have I?
I wanted to apologize for not being totally honest with you and for making your life a little harder than necessary. You already have so much on your plate.
He seems genuine, and aside from his odd behavior yesterday, I have no reason not to trust Ezra. I spoke to August last night and Piper this morning. They know about the sash. Fear flashes across his features, but I quickly reassure him. It's fine, Ezra. They're on our side. They want to help. Even Gus? Yes, even August. Are you sure you're not magic? Because that seems like an impossible task. I shake my head profusely. No magic here. His smile grows, and he seems to relax exponentially. It's nice to see. Then let's talk. He takes a deep breath.
The reason I was so hesitant to discuss Aya, or the Enforcers for that matter, is because I used to work for them.
You were an enforcer?
Hell no. I went in and I assisted in the infirmary or morgue whenever they needed an extra pair of hands. Healers, good healers, are few and far between around here. It's what I always wanted to do, to apply my skills where most needed. Helping those who dedicate their lives to ensuring our safety was an honor. The murders began and I examined the first body.
Oh. If you can even call it that with the state it was in, he said. I listened intently, taking all of this in. A little perplexed, a little caught off guard.
Something shifted within the headquarters after that. They started treating me differently, called me in less. And then, when I was there, they kept me clear of any hunters. It became quite clear they didn't want me there any longer. Information was being kept from me, important notes about the victims I was supposed to be examining. The Aya incident happened, then another dead hunter turned up, and they revoked my access.
They took away all of my notes. Notes? He nods, glancing over at the kitchen counter. I may have had Piper retrieve them for me. If you'd like to take them, there's not much, but you're welcome to them. Do it! Yes, I'll take them. I've never not taken the notes. I don't know what not taking the notes does. He opens one of the kitchen drawers, pulling out a pile of parchment. Then he discards what looks like a fake wooden bottom. The notebook is nestled safely beneath it. Here. I tuck it away inside my jacket for later. So, why were you so afraid to tell me this? You did nothing wrong. You were helping people. He offers me a sorry gaze, his brow furrowed, fingers curled into fists at his side.
They don't like people talking about it, about the deaths. Many of us have our suspicions now, and they know. I think they'd do anything to keep what's happening quiet.
Like, not telling me who the latest victim is. Exactly. I wasn't even sure if I could trust Gus, but I wanted to so badly that I pushed my apprehensions aside. You were right to trust them. They're on our side. They're scared too. Oh, Gus. I just want all of this to be over. What are we going to do? I smile, and Ezra's expression lights up. You have a plan? I have a plan. I can't do it without you, though, Ezra. I look deep into his eyes, hoping I can wash away some of the weight that he carries. The toll this has taken on him is obvious. I can't do this without you, Ezra. I need you. Anything you need, Hex. I trust you. I smile, taking his hand when he offers it, and he squeezes mine tightly. Together. Together. Piper and I are going into the dungeons to see if we can locate Aya. If we can talk to her, I think we might have a start. Everything leads back to when she was arrested, as far as I can tell. How on earth are you going to get down there without being caught? That's where you come in. It may involve you and August working together. Does Gus know about this little plan of yours? I grimace, waving my hand in a so-so gesture. Partially?
You're lucky I trust you, and I'm here for you. Just tell me when and where.
Thank you, Ezra. Now, how can I find Finn? Why, a secret passageway, of course. You're in the right place. He bends down, kicking aside a colorful rug to reveal that hidden hatch. It creaks loudly when he opens it, a gust of cold, stale wind rising from its depths.
Walk for about 10 minutes, and then when you see candlelight, it's the third door on the left. Don't be alarmed by any vampires you stumble across. They're all friendly.
Oh my god, I feel a sneeze coming. Oh, maybe not. I nod, taking a deep breath. I lower myself into the hatch, gazing up at him with a smile. See you around. Oh, it's time to see the vampire lair. The incessant drip, drip, drip of water guides me forward through the darkness. The stench of damp and decay fills my nostrils as I sink deeper into the corridors of the catacombs. The pitch-black path is long and winding, and the only sound I can hear is the tap of my boots on the wet stone. Eventually, I see candlelight flickering ahead, and it would appear that I finally found life. Well, kind of. I remember to look for the third door on the left, just as Ezra had instructed, but as I approach it, I find it wide open. I peek inside, and the stark contrast between the literal tomb outside and what I find in... Oh, and what I find in... What is... Oh my god. I peek inside, and the stark contrast between the literal tomb outside and what I find in what is most definitely Finn's quarters is astounding. Before I get the chance to take in the view, a cool breeze brushes past me, ruffling my hair and sending goose flesh prickling across my skin. A small, darkly clad girl appears before me in a flash, her eyes the brightest crimson as they bore into me. She stands with her head tilted and a toothy grin crossing dark lips. "Are you lost, human?" She stares me down, wide-eyed and quite clearly trying to intimidate me, but she seems playful. "I'm here to see Finn." She relaxes at the sound of his name, and her striking gaze sweeps over me like a caress. She shrugs, pursing her lips. "So you're the one he won't shut up about, huh? Well, you do smell good, I guess." "Smell good? Is Finn here?" She licks a fang, and I notice how similar some of her more human quirks are to his. She's far less poised than him, but I almost feel like that may be on purpose. I'm in Finn's territory here, neutral territory, so I quell the desire to be defensive, even though her eyes are the color of a creature who drinks human blood. "He's somewhere, here, around, doing stuff. Helpful." Her smile widens, and she turns to poke at a crystal decanter of whiskey that sits nestled in the corner of one of his many bookcases. "Are you part of the clan?" A quick nod, almost too quick to catch. "I am." She pours the rich amber liquid into a glass, swirls it, sniffs it with a dramatic grimace, and sets it aside, untouched. Her nose is still crinkled in barely disguised disgust when she looks at me again. "I wish that thing that you're looking for would stop killing hunters, you know, because that means more of your type will come. Then more enforcers, which is the last thing we need in this shitty town." I hear footsteps, loud ones that echo off the stonework in the hallway. "Hex!" I suspect he knew I was here, but his shock is charming nonetheless. He looks at the girl, who throws him a decidedly wicked, wolfish grin. The picture of innocence.
Raven, are you being nice?
I forgot her name is Raven. The irony. Whoops. Which one of us are you referring to, Mr. Finn? The girl, Raven, shrugs, sidling up to him and resting her head on his shoulder. She rolls her eyes hard enough that I'm surprised they don't fall into the back of her skull. "Yes, Dad." Finn's face drops, his eyes narrowed. I get the impression that if he could blush, his cheeks would be the prettiest shade of pink. I stifle a laugh, and with obvious delight, Raven notices. "Raven." She laughs, the sound loud and obnoxious, but somehow still charming. She shoves him, playfully, but Finn remains stern. "Are you going to introduce me to your friend?" The suggestive waggle of her brows doesn't go unnoticed, and Finn sighs heavily, offering me an apologetic smile. "Hex, this is Raven. I'm his kid." There's a low, exasperated rumble of warning in Finn's throat, and I find myself enjoying the way he bristles in her presence. Finn throws her a death glare, and she proceeds to look guilty, but just a little. He raises a single dark brow at her, and after a quiet scoff, she enthusiastically steps forward and offers me her hand. "It's really nice to meet you, Hex. This guy hasn't stopped gushing about you, so thanks for giving him something new to mope over."
I do not mope.
I'm mad because I'm pretty sure there's something similar in Fenris's voice lines. Raven rolls her eyes, and I finally take her hand. Her grip is firm, and I wonder if she might be trying to unnerve me when her startling eyes widen exponentially. "Hurt him, and I'll eat you. Got it?" I open my mouth to respond, but before I get the chance, she's laughing again. Finn looks mortified, and he carefully pries her hand from mine and ushers her towards the door. "It's time for you to go, I think." Raven pouts, raising both of her hands in defense. I was joking, obviously. I like her already. She offers me a little wave and rises onto her tiptoes to press a kiss to Finn's cheek. He looks at her with unabashed fondness, a small smile creeping onto his lips. Go. Say hello to Lux for me, and be good. He runs his hand over her shorn scalp and she swats at him playfully, scoffing much like a teenager would at an embarrassing parent. I'll do more than say hello. Bye, Hex. He gives another disapproving rumble, and Finn almost looks like he wants to chase her to administer another pep talk, but he stops himself. And with that, she's gone, the door slamming loudly and shaking in its frame. Finn groans, running an iron hand over his face as he walks to grab the whiskey Raven had poured him. She's interesting. She's your... He sips his drink.
She's a pain in the ass is what she is. But I suppose she's my pain in the ass. I sired her, so she's my responsibility. She jokes about me being her father, but I suppose I am, in a way.
He takes a small sip of whiskey, savoring the taste for a moment before he speaks. Though I prefer brother. Father just makes me sound so... old. His laugh is charming. Yes, old. She tends to look after me much more than I look after her. She's a good kid. I'd be lost without her. I nod, observing him quietly as he sets down his glass. Sire bonds are powerful, and it's interesting to observe such a casual, healthy dynamic. Did you choose to turn her? He frowns, shaking his head. That voice, man. Right? Well, no, not exactly.
It's complicated, but I made a choice that I'll have to live with forever. Literally. I'd seen too many die at the hand of my sire. Something about her struck me. He planned to leave her for dead, but I couldn't let that happen.
He smiles, and it's painfully earnest.
We're kindred spirits, I guess. As much as I have regret for cursing her with immortality, she's the closest thing I have to a family. Now, what brings you to my neck of the underworld?
He leans back against his desk. Well, obviously, I'm gonna flirt with the boy. I need you. He raises his scarred brow, his dark hair falling in his face as he turns to set aside his drink. You do, hmm? His smile has me rolling my eyes, and I quickly try to distract myself. Let me rephrase that. I need your help. I have a plan, and I think you may be of use. He laughs, a raspy chuckle.
I'm all yours, Hunter. Do with me as you please. Just tell me where and when.
I'm gonna punch him in the face. With my mouth. I'm gonna punch him in the face. With my mouth. Shut the fuck up, Tox. Don't. Shush. I clear my throat, the double entendre making my skin feel hot. He smiles, and I know the bastard can hear the unsteady flutter of my pulse. Piper and I are going to attempt to break into the dungeons beneath HQ. His pointy ears flicker, almost flattening against his head before they put themselves to rights. He can't seem to mask his surprise, nor his apparent interest. The dungeons, hmm? He whistles, scuffing his boot against the stone floor. I can help you, but I may have a favor of my own to ask you if you're bold enough to venture down there. I narrow my eyes at him, contemplating if I want to tangle myself into yet another web. What is it? He pushes away from the desk, standing tall.
An important member of my clan has gone missing. I'm positive that they have him. As I'm sure you know, any trust for the enforcers is wavering. I want my friend back. He's done nothing to warrant being thrown in a dungeon.
His hands ball into fists at his side, his prosthetic flaring brightly before it fades into its usual dormant, dull glow. How do you know that they have him? I don't. They have an excellent defense system that prevents any of us from detecting him, no matter how close we manage to get. He would not just abandon us. He's either detained or dead, and if it's the latter, I just want to know. You're sure he wouldn't just leave? Your clan isn't like others. Maybe he wanted a change? He looks frustrated. He runs his fingers through his hair, leaving it messy.
Fiero wouldn't just leave. I know he wouldn't. I trust him more than anyone else in my clan, even Raven. We both suffered at the hands of Levi for centuries. We were healing from that together.
Fucking forgot they named him Fiero. I added Lunaris games about it one time, and I was like, is this a Wicked reference? Especially because of something that Fiero says. And they were like, haha, I don't know.
He was the only friend I had when I was with Levi. And he saved me more than once.
Sorry, Finn, I'm shoving a sandwich in my mouth. Fiero? Yeah. If we have enough time, I want to try to get through the dungeon section, because there's a specific line that Fiero says that that you will want to see. Well, I'm sure they changed the spelling for obvious reasons, but he wants to know if his friend Fiero is okay. Also, hi, Soraya.
If he's ash and bone in a forest somewhere, then so be it. But if he's okay, then I must save him. The only family creatures like me have are the ones that you find, so I intend to keep them safe as long as I can.
Which one do we want to ask about first, Levi or Fiero? I say definitely not stalling, so I can shove more sandwich in my mouth. Fiero. I'm gonna make you guys wait. We're gonna ask about Levi. Chicken stuck in my tooth now. I hate having a permanent retainer. The information on Finn's sire is sparse outside of the fact that he was notorious and cruel, and I wonder how such a seemingly kind man could have followed him for that long. Call it morbid curiosity. Do you mind talking about him? About Levi? Finn grimaces, folding his arms across his broad chest. His posture loses its usual confidence. I suppose. I take a seat upon his bed as he pulls out his desk chair. The first thing I can think to ask him is loaded, but I need to understand. Why did you stay with him for so long? He looks at me, wide-eyed for a beat before he manages to formulate a response.
I don't know if I can answer that. I still truly do not know. He was good at making sure you had nothing left to go home to. So he was all that I had. I'm not the kind of man who does well with loneliness.
A wry smile crosses his lips, but Finn looks impossibly sad. What did he take from you? He swallows thickly, casting his gaze to the side.
Everything. He took my fiancé, killed him right in front of me before he took my own life. I was an orphan. I didn't exactly have many friends.
I forgot about this part of Finn's lore. Oh, it's make Bun cry hours. God, we're getting everyone's tragic backstories tonight. This is the tragic backstory stream, I guess. Sorry, I'm taking my headset out of my mic out of my headset so that I can lean into the mic without running into it.
Gabriel was truly all I had. He destroyed our home, all of our memories, even took my name from me. He took it all, and he did everything to make sure that I needed him. I followed him like a lost puppy for centuries.
I'm like actually getting choked up. Did you ever try to escape when you found others? He nods.
Many times. I had a few periods of freedom, but he always found me. He tended to collect vampires with abilities like Fiero and myself. Maybe to make up for the fact that, aside from his advanced age, he was truly unremarkable.
So I want you all to imagine for a moment the original version of this game. Basically all of the dialogue is the same. So this was in the original when it wasn't voiced and it was painful. And then when I first played the revamp this summer, I got to listen to Finn talk about this story again, but with Gideon Emery's voice. And it was like listening to Fenris talk about being Daenerys' servant all over again. In fact, it's a very similar dynamic if you think about it. So, ow, my heart. And now, he's dead and you're free. You seem to be managing well for someone who's endured all of that. He sighs, rubbing the back of his neck with his iron hand.
I'm trying to shape myself into the man I always wanted to be. Before the whole being undead thing.
I'm pretty sure we get to see a picture of Gabriel at some point, but I don't remember how soon it is.
I try not to dwell on things that happened to me. I was bitter for long enough. But I cannot change any of it. All I can do is be the opposite of what he wanted me to be.
I smile as I observe him. I register how comfortable I feel in his home. The thought of stepping into the den of a clan before all of this would have set me on edge. But now... You're doing a great job, Finn. His mouth curls into an earnest grin. Thank you, Hex. I give you permission to kick my ass if I ever dares to step out of line. Duly noted. Why do you think they would take Fiero specifically, if you're so sure he's innocent? He shrugs, clearly quite confident in his theory. Because he's valuable. He's an empath, a powerful one. If he saw something he wasn't supposed to, or even if they just managed to overpower him and get him alone. I rarely let my clan members patrol by themselves, regardless of our supposedly stable relationship with the enforcers of this town. But I was stupid, and Fiero was a good sweet talker. He sensed someone in distress in the woods, so I allowed it. Therefore, if anything has happened to him, it's my fault. Finn prides himself on being the opposite of his sire, and I can see that this is eating away at him. You can't place the blame on yourself. You didn't know. Plus, if he is as valuable as you say he is... His eyes light up when they meet mine, his fingers twitching upon the surface of the desk. Then they could be using him, so he's still alive. I smile in return, tilting my head this way and that. Well... ish. I love his laugh. Oh, I'm such a simp. Leave me alone to die. He laughs and I can't help but join him. So, you'll check for me? I nod. I will. So, what is it that you'd like me to do, exactly? Well, no one knows this town quite as well as you. I was hoping you'd have some secret little passageway tucked away for me to use. There are wards and other nasty little tricks in place to stop people like you, like us, getting in. I'll worry about that. Now, about that passageway. His grin is wicked, and I think I have my answer. I'm your guy. Just say when and I'll be there. If you need anything else, just come running. I bid Finn farewell, and now I only need to find one more friend. I saved the most stubborn till last. Elkar is waiting for me when I return to the wolf. It doesn't surprise me anymore when I catch his eyes across the tavern where he's been nursing a mug of ale, clearly pouting. That the pout disappears when he sees me surely counts for something, though the way his lips thin instantly makes me think perhaps not. He gets up, movements slow and deliberate, and I remain by the door for a moment, wondering if, hilariously, he's somehow trying not to scare me.
Took you long enough. Was wondering if the bad shit got to you.
Alucard grins suddenly, eyes gleaming and brow cocked. Or maybe the vampire got you, huh? Do you need something? Yes, actually. Alucard rubs at the back of his neck and gives me a critical once-over, frown deepening. Then he glances behind his shoulder at the sparsely populated tavern. The 3 or 4 people lounging about seem deeply engaged with their own conversation, but I nod in understanding. My room? Alucard barks a short, scornful laugh.
So your superior can come knocking on the door and catch us? Not a chance.
Are you saying I'm trying to ambush you? He frowns at me, his tail flicking and then going still. His voice is low and steady when he answers. No, I'm not saying that, but I'm not keen on taking chances right now. Tell me you agree. As much as I loathe to abandon the promise of a horizontal, not a bare rock surface to lie down on, close my eyes and try to process the day, he's right. And if Alcar has any more information, any more at all, I want to hear it. I need to hear it. All right then, where? The woods. The deep, dark woods where I stumbled across a nasty youngling no more than a day ago. Alucard rolls his eyes.
Would you prefer the graveyard where those damn Woodridge twins can probably hear every word we say? Not all of the woods are dangerous. I would know. I live there. Now, I ask that you trust me.
I incline my head in understanding and step aside, inviting him to take his leave through the door first. Alucard doesn't move immediately. He stays where he is, his arms crossed, and he regards me with a strange expression. It's not unreadable, but almost as though he doesn't quite know what expression he should be making. Is something the matter? You're one trusting motherfucker, aren't you? I scowl at him. You and your friends in this lovely little town aren't giving me a lot of choices. I expect another eye roll, a scoff, a dismissive wave. Instead, Alucard inclines his head, and there's something almost like guilt in his grimace. Let's go. Linares is a cold and lonely shell of its daylight form tonight, and I have to almost run to keep up with how quickly, though sure-footedly, Alucard moves through the back alleys. The chill sinks into my bones, and unbidden, I wish I wasn't here. I wish I wasn't following a half-werewolf into the dark unknown towards more mystery. Omen's confession is still ringing in my ears, as do so many other things. Did you know that Omen is... Alucard shakes his head, his wolf ears flattening. Not here. Another turn and we've stepped beyond the town's boundary. Trees loom above us, moonlight flooding through the bare branches to afford us some light. Alucard leads me a little further away until the roofs of houses are barely visible, then turns to me.
A little while ago, I got into a fight with one of your hunters.
He jerks his chin towards the town.
Well, not one of yours exactly, I suppose. Since you just got here and all.
Damn right.
But one of theirs. Some bloke. Don't even remember his face all that well. I was...
Drunk? Alucard pauses for a moment, rubbing at his chin almost nervously, his eyes narrowed. But then he shakes himself of it and continues.
It was during a full moon. I had an argument with my sister. Didn't go well.
What? I forgot Alucard has a sister. That took me by surprise. What the hell? He grimaces at the memory.
And when I transform, especially if I'm upset, my control isn't as good as it could be. But I know I didn't kill him. Would have damn well remembered that. If you ripped a man apart with your own claws and teeth. But when I came to, he knocked me out, I guess. You hunters and your annoying little gadgets. Your enforcer friends were already swarming over us like hornets. But there was no blood. Not mine, not his.
It doesn't mean you didn't hurt him. Alcar gives me a look.
Okay, smartass. The point is that he vanished. Poof. The enforcers, dragged me off to their fun little dungeon and kept me there for fuck knows how long. A week, I think. Maybe more. And then they just poked and prodded me a bit. Then they let me go. Felt like they wanted to do more. Like they had plans for me. But maybe it was too dangerous to just snuff me, I guess. I know too many people. Ezra, Finn. But here's a question for you. What do you do when a creature hurts a hunter so bad he apparently isn't walking around anymore?
I pressed my lips together. Nothing pleasant, I know that much. Assuming the creature in question was allowed to escape with their life at all. But sometimes they are let go. Marks that are too delicately tied to the order of things to be freely snuffed, as Alcar so delicately put it. But surely, if he wounded a hunter so terribly, he would still have been in the dungeons. Perhaps Finn or Ezra parlayed for your release. But Alcar is shaking his head.
They didn't. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you hunters don't get retirement leave till you can't walk on two legs anymore. And even then...
Well, there are always prosthetics. Alcar barks a sharp, bitter laugh and shakes his head. But neither he nor I find humor in it. I know. He's quiet for a moment, running a hand through his hair, messing with his clothes, fidgeting. Nervous. I step back a pace to let him collect himself. No use pushing him for anything now, not when he's already so open with telling me everything he knows. I didn't kill that hunter. I didn't. I wouldn't forget something like that, and I... Enough to never do it by accident. Never. Alcar's frown is deep, but his words are as quietly fierce as they are pleading. I don't know why it has to be a flirt option, but I believe him. I believe you. The words are easy to say, and easier still that they're true. I know, rationally and instinctively, that Alcar tells the truth. And I'll make them believe it too, if you like. Alcar stares at me in response. No clever words this time, just stares. Arms loose at his sides, surprise evident on his face. He stares like he's never seen me before. Is something wrong? Huh? But no, He looks away, scratching at his head. Then he chuckles, sounding so disbelieving it almost hurts to hear it. But at the same time, so relieved. And I have to wonder how many people didn't believe him. Not just about this, but about other things too. He mentioned his sister, briefly, and that he had a fight with her on that night. He's never mentioned any family otherwise. Thanks. Elcar grins at me, and it's a lot less awkward than I figured it would be. You're welcome. I have another question. Were you aware that Omen comes from hell? Elcar frowns at me, then squints, and snorts. Of course. Where else would he be coming from? The general store? It's not even a good joke, but it makes me laugh every time. I hope he doesn't hear the sound of my teeth gnashing as loudly as I hear it, but with the way his ears suddenly stand up and the cackle, I know he's seen something. I meant, did you know that he's the son of the literal devil? You were the one who didn't ask. You weren't giving me a chance to, as I recall.
And why exactly should I have told you? Oh, by the way, we've got a demon prince in town. He's easily spooked, but don't you worry about that because he's harmless. Like that would fly.
He pauses for a moment to consider his own words, then shrugs. That was his secret to tell, and he didn't have anything to do with the mess that's been cropping up around here, including that fact. Besides, Ezra was the one who chose to offer him a place to stay, same as he offered help. Sorry, I'm choking, don't mind me. Same as he offered to help me, help Finn, help anyone who so much as looked like they needed it. Omen came to his door asking for aid. Why would he be different than any of us? Than you, who he took in that night, too. I can think of a few ways a hunter might be different from all of those things, but I understand it. The spirit of it. Omen has good, loyal friends in this town. I understand. Alcar inclines his head in acknowledgement, his eyes sharp. It's more force than I've ever seen from him. Good. Then he chuckles and leans away, signifying that the conversation is at an end. See you tomorrow? Where are you going off to so soon?
Back into my hovel before the big, handsome vampire comes to scold me about staying out in the cold. What else?
And excuse my nosiness, but you look like you've seen some hell yourself. Not just the Prince of Hell. I frowned. Am I that obviously rattled? But now that it's been said, I do feel the building headache behind my eyes. Not from the ghost of Jane's alone, but from, well, everything. Alcar is staring at me again, tilting his head this way and that, and making a show out of squinting at me. Yeah, definitely looked floored. Fit for bed. Well, don't stray too far. I might need you tomorrow. I have a plan.
A plan, hmm? Well, don't worry too much. I'll be a stone's throw away, whether you like it or not.
When you need me, you need me. Until then, later. He disappears into the tree line as sure-footed as ever, and once again I'm left alone in this damn forest. I begin to make my way back to the wolf, my mind reeling again, as it always seems to be these days. Though, I feel hopeful. My plan seems plausible. This little team of misfit helpers I've managed to assemble more than capable of carrying it out alongside me. I think. I smile to myself, feeling a little lighter. Then, a rustle. Something moving in the tree line a little too close to the edge of town for my liking. I'm gonna wait. I stand my ground, quiet as I try to get a feel for what might be approaching. I can't get a read on its aura, but I know it's certainly not human. Then it lumbers into view. It's hunched over and misshapen, with long, gangly limbs that look out of place on its relatively normal-sized body. A single twisted horn grows out of his head, and I spot 3 eyes. The third seems new and underdeveloped, and it melds crudely above the existing left eye socket. It's covered in patches of scraggly fur and scales, and in some places, its skin is entirely burned off. An amalgamation of mismatched parts and pieces that look like they don't belong. That cloudy gaze meets mine, and merely looking at it gives me a headache. There's this weak, demonic aura that makes my body beg me to look away. Then something hits me. Something that makes me hesitate to draw my weapon. I cannot place this feeling of complacency, of ease, and nor can I fight it. Is this how my comrades were killed so easily? Does it have some kind of power over us that makes us freeze, become immobile? Or is it the dull ache of familiarity that settles in my gut that makes me pause? The feeling that I shouldn't harm it, that it deserves empathy, mercy. It opens its crooked jaw, melded sinew and mottled skin stretching and splitting to reveal a set of violent, jagged teeth. My body screams at me to fight, but my feet are firmly planted and stuck to the forest floor. My fingers don't move. My weapon is still frustratingly safe in its holster. It takes a purposeful step towards me with a low, rattling groan, its teeth bared. My heart races as I stare into its unfocused eyes, all three of them blinking out of sequence. There's a loud ringing in my ears, and I've never felt like this before. My instincts are screaming, pulsing, dying for me to do something. Anything, and yet all I can apparently do is stare down my bitter end. Then something washes over me, and in a split second, I gain perfect, blinding clarity. Run! James. The creature takes another step and howls, a broken, blood-curdling screech. Run! I listen. Oh, and then I have to... Okay, I'm gonna save. Because this is importante. Obviously, my instinct is to pick option number 1. But, I will let chat decide for me. Those of you who are there. Treat yourself. Oh, I love you guys. All right, let's go see the boy. Go to him. Okay, we're going. You're going. As though my body already knows where I need to go, where I want to go. My feet carry me towards the catacombs. I don't look back, but I do hear the rustle of trees and the creature's maddened aura fading. It's heading back into the woods. The town is safe. For now. Though I'm sure he's aware it's me, he still seems surprised when he opens the door and finds me in the dull light of the corridor. Hex, are you okay? His wide-eyed gaze brushes over me, and I can see him still registering that something isn't right. He gently curls his fingers around my wrist to urge me inside when I don't respond, the door closing with a loud thud behind me. Strangely, I'm shaking, and I can't quite place why.
What is it? Who hurt you?
No one. I'm fine. I'm rarely fearful of creatures, but this one shook me to my core. Something was off. Too familiar. I saw it. Golden eyes meet mine, and the warmth they exude calms me in an instant.
Breathe. I've got you. Then, tell me. What did you see?
This is gonna be rough. I shiver as my adrenaline fades, and in an absent-minded gesture, he rubs his hands over my arms to try and warm me. The creature... I think I saw it. I couldn't move. It was like it paralyzed me. There was something that didn't feel right. Like I knew it. Like we were connected. His brow furrows and he takes a careful step closer as I reach for his arms. I hold on to him as if he might anchor me and make all of this feel real. I was drawn here. Something magnetic pulling me towards him in a time of confusion. I've barely known him a week, but there's something about Finn that makes me feel safe and strong and wanted. We should go out there, see if we can find it. Maybe you should shut up. No, it's fine. I can practically see the cogs turning in his mind, and as he moves to leave, I tighten my grip. I need him to stay. I want him to stay. I want him. Finn. I'm not going to read the scene that's coming up. I just need you all to know that. I probably won't even show it because this game is not meant... I'm pretty sure this game is rated. And with good reason. And I don't think I could safely show it. Even if it's just text. So, We'll see. In the warm light of his room, Finn's face has taken on an otherworldly quality. The way the golden shadows dance across his sharpened features makes me wonder how many people he's lured to their end. I wouldn't blame them. Even I'm drawn to him like a moth to a bright, bright flame, and there's truly no mistaking that he's not human. Deadly. And yet... Another step closer, my heart a hammer in my chest, and we're so close that I can feel his cool breath against my overheated skin. Hex. Ugh. The unsaid longing, the desire that I feel when I'm near him. Something I've tried to quietly snuff out, using the formalities of my position as an excuse. A creature, something I'm supposed to hunt, but he's the one whose presence has made me feel like I truly belong here. A comfort in all of this darkness and uncertainty. I'd mark myself a fool if I ignored such feelings. Everything could end tomorrow, and I'd never know. I tilt my chin, an invitation, my chest heaving, and surely my grip would be bruising if he were human. This is so rough to read out loud, man. He curls a cold fingertip at my cheek, and I know he's not reading my mind, but his next words are still everything I long to hear.
Can I kiss you?
The way my metal's wigging out because I like put my face in my hands and started flipping the fuck out. It is not any easier to hear the second time. Or the third. I think this is technically the third because I did both versions of Finn's Root on my own, actually. I have water. Yes, thank you. Well, it's right. Oh my god, shut up, you two. A whole shower, it seems. I already showered yesterday. Thank you very much. Yes. That's all it takes for Finn to press his cool lips against my willing mouth. He is asking... That's true. That's one thing that this game does very well, is sexy consent. It's not, you know, everything is still consensual and, like, very obviously so, but it's not, like, in that weird, awkward way that some fanfic tries to do, where it just doesn't... It ruins the whole moment, you know? 10 out of 10. He places a hand upon my hip and draws me close. The first kiss is quick, but it still lingers when he pulls away, his eyes desperately searching my face. I exhale sharply, a beat passing between us, then... Sorry, I just wasn't expecting to look over and see that cat emoji. It just really threw me off. It's so cute too. I love it. What is that cat supposed to... Is it just a cat? Or is it a specific cat? Because it's just like a cat in chat for me. I'm not reading all of this out loud. I will die. Eventually, I need to pull away to catch my breath, and I'm overwhelmed by how right this feels. He smiles when he realizes I need to breathe, giving me a moment and placing a kiss against my jaw and trailing it back towards my mouth. I didn't expect YouTube to add it. Oh, if you said... Oh, you were trying to do that. Oh. I hold him close, pushing my hands up over his spine, raking my nails along the dark fabric. I can feel his muscles shift and relax beneath my touch. I'm pretty sure there are several more voice lines during this section. Then, a shared smile, and Finn kisses me hard, feeling the urgency that thrums between us, kickstarting something within me that makes my breath hitch. Me trying to decide where the line is on this and where I'm gonna have to like start censoring it. I hear a low growl, a rumble in his chest. It's a revealing noise, the kind that seems alarming at first, but that gives way to an improving throaty groan. He carefully walks me backwards until I hit the door, and with unexpected complacency, I find myself following his lead and sinking back against the wood. You have a thing with walls and doors, don't you? Listen, I listened to an entire Danielle Steele audiobook that was narrated by Gideon Emery. And I lived because he didn't do half the shit that he does in this game. God damn it. Oh my god. This is all well and good when I was just like playing on my laptop and giggling to myself in my bed. I did this to myself though. I am not reading this out loud. I'm having a moment. Goodbye. Goodbye, world. Ugh. Okay, I'm fine. I'm not, but also I am. We pause, forehead pressed to forehead, and the fathomless gold of his eyes burns into my own. My breathing is ragged, clawing free from the embers of my chest, and I smile. He sucks in a sharp breath, smiling and looking at me like I hung the moon. The words that roll off his lips are raw and honest, laid bare before me and washing away whatever hesitation I may have felt before this moment. Okay, you prepare yourselves. I'm pretty sure I'm about to perish for like the third time this scene.
You were like a madness. One I'd happily succumb to.
I want to die. It's a bit Twilight, but I'm here for it. This mission has been nothing but one mystery after another, but this he reveals gently and passionately. So cute. We reluctantly part and Finn steps back, putting some distance between us. Though our fingers are still lazily entwined, the feel of him cooling my overheated skin. Oh, a sexy CG for me. Oh yeah, let's go. He smiles, turning and breaking our contact as he takes a seat upon his bed.
So, this changes things between us, I suppose.
Yep. That it does. So it's just a little bit, what's a little bit of making out between friends and colleagues, right? I don't know what you're talking about. I clear my throat, unable to wipe the smile off my face. His kiss lingers. You could say that. He looks up at me, and I find myself caught by how beautiful he is. It's true. Tell me everything will be okay. He feigns contemplation, his gaze flicking to the side, then back to my face.
It will. You're smart, and you're strong. I consider myself lucky to be able to help you. Lucky to know you.
Not me getting emotional over a video game character again for like the 5th time today. There's been so much uncertainty, but of him, I'm beyond certain. Grounded and stronger. And know me you do. Shut the fuck up. His support makes me feel unstoppable, as does everyone else's. No longer am I alone in this. I have a family. Everything is going to be okay. We survived. I did it. I didn't die on stream. So the scene I was thinking of is much later. Or not much later, but it's a bit later. It was not that one. Strangely, I wake with a smile on my face. Despite meeting the thing that's been wreaking havoc on this town, and despite the fact that it rendered me useless, I'm happy. It feels wrong, but I can't ignore the way my chest aches when I think of Finn. When I think about kissing him, ew. I laugh to myself. I feel so much lighter somehow. though I can't shake the feeling of that thing staring me down and sizing. What? What do you mean, imagine? He literally said it. What are you talking about? I'm so confused. You do know that's Gideon Emery, right? Like that's the whole point. Unless you're talking about a line that wasn't voiced that I'm confused. What are you talking about, Tox? I think of all the creatures I've encountered in my time as a hunter. I can't read. I think of all the creatures I've encountered in my time as a hunter, and I almost feel like there's something I'm missing. Is it a hybrid? A new species? The stuff he didn't say out loud that way? Oh, okay. I thought you were referring to something specific, but never mind. We were always taught that it's unrealistic to believe that we've discovered every kind of creature that roams the earth. The realms that separate us from them can tear. Every day new horrors are brought upon us. But every single one of my instincts is screaming and telling me that this is different. That it's not going to be simple. With great effort, I drag myself from the relative comfort of my bed and stare out over a surprisingly sunny Linares. I take a seat at my desk and decide to take a moment to observe the stolen notes that Ezra had kindly handed over. I'm not going to try to read all of this in the cursive because I'm pretty sure the character's about to narrate stuff. There we go. I scan them, and it's jarring seeing a truly talented witch being so completely and utterly perplexed. I can practically feel his frustration rolling off the page. Live fire consumed everything. Muscles damaged beyond restoration. Magical fire? Can't reconstruct. Anise and skeletal flower. Doesn't work. Perhaps a memory spell to recall the events of death? A runestone should suffice. No good. It's as if the body doesn't remember the soul's essence at all. A creature that feeds on life force? Perform ritual on Crescent Moon. Scrying's a far shot, but at this point I've exhausted my options with the corpse, and she deserves a burial by now. Used an extract from the flowers and a spell to ascertain she was well terrified before her death, but nothing more. Can't even tell if it's death by burning or other injuries. Then, finally, the page torn where he's pressed so hard with his quill. I'm stumped. The complete lack of an intact body would have certainly made his job hard, but a witch of Ezra's skill can cast many spells to determine the cause of death. But all he encountered was failed spell after failed spell. I set them aside. I have no time today to delve any deeper. Now, it's time to write my report for last night. This should be interesting. I check the conveniently placed clock outside of August's office door and take a deep breath. As I raise my fist to knock, I hear a crash. I forego knocking, pushing the door open to rush inside and check that everything is okay. I scan the room, seeing no August, but then I see a pair of feet sticking out from behind the desk, then hear a string of muttered curses in a language I don't recognize. August? They pop up. Their hair is a mess, and they have dark bags under their eyes. Hex, is it 9 already? I nod, clocking that their clothes are wrinkled, which is odd. Very odd. Wait, did you sleep here? They let out a quick, sharp burst of laughter that seems suspiciously nervous.
Did I fall asleep in my office? Don't be preposterous.
Huh? I stare them down, unconvinced. August. They cover their mouth with their hand, coughing quietly.
Yep. Yes, I did.
I had a lot on my mind. I nod in understanding, itching to tell them about my encounter, but almost not wanting to burden them with yet another thing. There was a little incident last night in the woods. An incident, you say? Come, sit. I take a deep breath and follow them to their desk. I believe I encountered the creature. The creature? As in, the creature? Yes. Their pale skin gets lighter somehow, and they take a deep, shuddering breath.
Are you okay? And how are you okay, if so? Some of our best hunters have perished by its hand.
Well, about that. I settle in the comfortable chair opposite them. My mind is reeling as I think about how the hell I'm going to explain this. Firstly, don't think I'm crazy, okay? Okay. They don't seem convinced, but I continue regardless. James has been communicating with me somehow. It's like I can hear him, feel him, as if he's right beside me. Their expression remains neutral, that perfectly arched brow raised high. I assume that their silence means that they wish for me to continue. It's happened a few times, the most recent being last night. I'm pretty sure he's the reason I'm sitting here right now. He snapped me out of whatever that thrall, that thing, had me under. They process what I've just said with an unreadable expression, and I wait with bated breath, unable to get a read on their aura. Are they going to laugh in my face? Tell me I'm insane? I see. Well, glad that he decided to help you, Hex. To think what might have become of you had he not. I'd rather not imagine. I pause, my mouth agape. I'm perplexed. Not even a flinch? You seem rather calm. I expected... They raised their hand.
A lot of things that happen in our world are out of the ordinary, and we can't possibly explain every unusual occurrence. Ghosts are certainly not the strangest thing we deal with. There have been many recorded cases of people claiming they've been contacted by the dead.
If Hunter Lane has somehow managed to communicate with you, then so be it. We can question it and attempt to understand it if you wish, but I consider that statement, deciding that yet another thing to add to the list would be a hindrance to us all. That won't be necessary. You felt fine during all of this? Nothing ails you when you experience this connection? I grimace and August notices.
You do well to tell me, Hunter.
I've been getting headaches, pretty intense ones. There's a lingering ache in my temple almost constantly, and it flares up whenever he's near. They press their finger to their lips, looking at me thoughtfully. Then they rise from their chair, walking to stand over me, wiggling their fingers in my direction. May I? Alright, whatever. If you don't mind. I nod, trusting them to do what they have to do. Just close your eyes. It won't hurt. I oblige, and I feel a distinct crackle in the air, the smell of ozone thick in my nostrils. The hairs on the back of my neck and arms stand, and I dare a peek at my enforcer. Their eyes are closed too, their hands hovering carefully above my head and glowing a vibrant aquamarine. Closed. With a quiet grumble, I heed their instruction. A moment later, I hear them huff. You're fine. No damage detected. I open my eyes, watching them sit back against the desk. Thank you, August. I should imagine it's rather unnerving having that happen, though. I do hope he's at least polite. Oh, well, minus the headaches, he's not too bad. He was a fine hunter and a valued friend of many, including myself. He's missed terribly. Even more of a reason for us to bring this thing to the ground. I silently ponder the implications if the enforcers are involved with this. To think what it would do to Harry if the very agency he runs ended up being responsible for his husband's death. A loud knock interrupts my train of thought, and August throws me a look. They suddenly seem uncharacteristically nervous. I tilt my head and question. It's time I made amends. Come in. The atmosphere immediately grows tense, both of them making a point to look at me and not at each other. Have I been tricked into mediating? Yes, apparently that's exactly what this is.
I hear you have something to say to me.
I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding, thanking the stars that Piper is choosing to break the ice somewhat civilly. August clears their throat, rubbing their finger and thumb together. Seeing them unnerved is alarming.
Yes, well, I wanted to apologize, formally.
And for the first time.
Yes, Piper, for the first time. If I could go back and change how I reacted, I would do it in a heartbeat. You didn't deserve any of this. And I'm sorry.
She looks angry, but also a little defeated. I imagine this isn't easy for her. It wouldn't be for me if I was in her shoes.
You really hurt me, August. It will take time for us to get back to where we were.
But Hex told me that you really do wish to make amends, and that you're on our side in all of this. So, I accept your apology.
Take however long that you need. Whatever I can do to make it easier, I shall. To prove to you that I mean it.
Piper quirks a single brow, a smile creeping onto her lips. Well,
I am not arm wrestling you ever again. I'd rather you drove a dagger through my heart, frankly.
That's a bit drastic. Anyway, shall we discuss this plan of yours, Hunter Raven? The plan. General, you and Ezra will see to the wards whilst Piper and I meet Finn in the catacombs. He'll escort us to the hidden entrance to the dungeons and be our lookout. There, Piper and I will enter and gather as much intel as we can, for as long as you're able to stave off the protections. We'll then leave via the exit in the forest, where we'll meet Finn again, making a hasty escape before anyone catches wind. In theory. Yes, in theory. August purses their lips, taking in the provided information. I see. And you're satisfied with this? That it's achievable without any of us getting caught? Piper and I share a glance, and she nods. I am, yes. Regardless, I think it's necessary. We cannot proceed with our investigation without seeing what they're keeping down there. Or what they're not keeping down there. This could change the whole investigation, August. My brain just suddenly defaulted to imitating Piper's voice. Very well, I trust you, both of you. I guess the next thing for us to do is visit the witch then. Piper tilts her head at them, her eyes wide, and August sighs deeply. Sorry, Ezra. Well done, you're getting there. Just try it without the attitude next time, yeah? I'll wait for you at the entrance to the Casimir and to the catacombs come nightfall. Be careful, Merriman. I know you're capable, but be on your guard. Piper offers them a small smile, and it seems genuine for the very first time.
Always am, General.
Okay, I think we should have enough time before I want to end. I'm ending stream a little bit earlier than I would usually tonight because I have a meeting in the morning. So I think we should have enough time to do the dungeons section, depending on how long this next bit takes. The shop is quiet, much like August as they stand stoically by my side. I spare them a glance, watching how they smooth their freshly pressed, clean outfit. Don't be nervous. Ezra doesn't bite. Don't get sassy with me. I laugh at their non-threatening tone, and Ezra appears from the back room. Oh, good morning. August stares, almost as if they're paralyzed, and Ezra subtly flicks his gaze to me, a singular eyebrow slowly rising in question. General, didn't you want to speak to Ezra? Yeah, it's my bi-weekly meeting with my supervisor, I guess, for lack of a better word. I contemplate my next move and decide to take my life in my hands, nudging August forward with a gentle hand. Rather than tearing my arm clean from my body, they simply throw me a glare and put themselves to rights as they come to stand in front of the young witch. Ezra, it's time I apologize to you. Oh? The shock on Ezra's face is evident, but he quickly recovers. Gus, you Yes, I do. I do. In the interest of not being here explaining all day, I'll keep it short.
I should have never left Argyria the way I did. Or at least without giving you an explanation. I owed you that, and I'm sorry I was too caught up in my own issues to bother.
And I certainly shouldn't have treated you the way I did towards the end of your time under my tuition, nor the time in which we've coexisted here. You know what Oberon and Lady Adalia were like. They always made comments about how you were surpassing me, about how disappointed they were.
That's because you taught me. I'm powerful because of you. I wouldn't be half the witch I am today if it wasn't for you. I continued my studies long after you left, all from your books.
Augusta looks like they don't quite know what to say. Color rises to their cheeks and they quickly avert their gaze as Ezra continues.
Your skills remain unparalleled, and your parents were fools not to see that. I still look up to you and could still learn from you.
My healing is still something to be desired.
Well, you can't be good at everything.
They share a smile, and August looks like a different person. They stand a little taller, like a huge weight has been lifted. Making amends suits them. I accept your apology.
I should never have blamed you for the insecurities my parents planted in my head. I can't take back what happened, but we can move forward.
I don't know that I like Ezra's voice. Oh no. We can. We will. What was it like growing up in Argyria?
Incredibly boring, but enchanting nonetheless.
Perfectly summed up. There was nothing very special about it, but it was strangely charming.
The only interesting thing to do there was to learn magic. Witches would flock there to learn at the academy August's family ran. Some of the finest witches in all of Escria taught there, including Gus.
Ezra becomes wistful, a fond smile crossing his lips. August, less so. True to their nature, though, they roll their eyes at the compliment. I'm hardly one of the finest. Liar. I was honored to have you as my guide, no matter what you say. My family couldn't afford the tuition, but Gus saw something in me and took me under their wing anyway.
I fondly remember the look on your mother's face when you told her you would tutor me free of charge.
Ooh, Amanda's got to the whole backstory between Henry and James. Aww. August grimaces, but their smile betrays them.
I do miss making Mother angry.
She was just annoyed that everyone could see that people are able to flourish outside of her precious academy. What made you both move here? Harry had visited my parents' academy in search of new recruits, strictly witches. I no longer saw a future for myself in Argyria. My parents had all but disowned me, and it felt good to be needed. The promise that I might do some good if I took up a position in the Enforcers was too perfect to pass up at that point in my life. Ezra clears his throat. Do you regret it? Leaving? A pause, but just a quick one, and August answers confidently. No, but I regret how I left. How I let my friend down. Everything happens for a reason, Gus. It's in the past. What about you, Ezra? His smile fades, softens. After my father passed, I felt a little useless at home. I worked tirelessly to raise money to buy my own shop. I just wanted to help people, like he always did, in his own way. Magic was really the only way I knew how, and Lunaris just happened to be the first place where I might be able to afford to start fresh.
I'm so glad things worked out the way they did. Though things may not be perfect, I found family here.
I'm so glad that you were able to resolve your issues. It's nice to see you both like this. Thank you, Hex. I'm glad too. Now, shall we discuss the plan? I'm pretty well versed on the wards that they use, so with the both of us, I doubt they stand much of a chance. Ezra scoffs. Trust me, they don't. Piper and I will head into the catacombs to meet Finn, and I assume that he'll be able to tell us when the wards are down. Ezra doesn't hesitate to respond, his words confident. I can definitely ensure that he knows. Our connection is very strong, specifically mine with his prosthetic. It sounds so weird. Yes, strong. Gus, please, Hex is right there. August tilts their head, quite obviously confused with Ezra's statement.
Sorry, I don't see what this has to do with me making a comment about your dangerous liaisons with certain creatures of the night.
Oh, Gus is calling him out. Oh, I love it. Ezra clears his throat and offers me a sorry gaze before he addresses August again. It's nothing, don't worry. As much as I appreciate Ezra not outing my newfound liaisons with Finn, I can't help but wonder exactly how he knows already. Regardless, I gather that August doesn't approve of such relationships. Maybe it's best to keep that particular sliver of information to myself for now. Anyway, back to the plan. Have you heard from Harry at all since the night of the last murder? He's been around, though he seems to be avoiding me. He's keeping to himself. I cannot label that as suspicious, though. The man did just lose his husband, but I'll keep an eye on his whereabouts. I don't think we have to worry about him looking for us, though. He's distracted. So we're good to go, then. They share a look, nod in unison. I'd better get going, then. I need to get my armor and weapons from the wolf. Ezra hands August a crumpled piece of parchment, and they nod once, getting to work gathering whatever ingredients Ezra has written down.
I know you don't need me to tell you, but be safe. Let us know you're okay as soon as you can.
I will.
Tread carefully. Don't let them catch you, I have faith in you.
Yes, General. Thank you. Let's go, team. Roll out. I head back to the wolf to prepare myself, now fully kitted in my armor, my weapons safe in their holster. I begin to slowly make my way towards the main entrance to the catacombs. The air is chilly and the sun is already low in the sky. We must wait until sunset to ensure Finn and the clan can safely assist, but as each minute passes by, my gut feels heavy with anticipation. I hope this works. I hope we don't get caught. More for Piper and August than for myself. I have so many people relying on me. I absolutely cannot let them down. The flickering golden candlelight is almost comforting as I head deeper into the catacombs. I know I'm safe here now that I'm aware that it's only Finn's clan that lingers, but there's something about being down here that has my guard up. I smile to myself, thinking that the scariest thing that might actually jump out at me would probably be Raven. I turn the corner and find the place where Piper and I agreed to meet. There's no sign of her, but then I am a little early. With a deep sigh, I lean against the wall, listening to the steady drip, drip, drip of water upon the stone. Then Finn appears before me, as if out of thin air.
Good evening.
Hi, sweetheart. Hee hee. Hee 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 hee. I can't stop the smile that blossoms when I look into those golden eyes. Finn.
How's my favorite hunter? Did you miss me?
Terribly. He crowds close, but he keeps his hands in his pockets. Maybe just a little. He shrugs, smirking. I'll take it. His gaze flickers to the side, then back to me. It would appear that Merriman is late. I shake my head, taking a step closer to him. I'm early, actually. There's that smirk again, and he removes his hand from his coat, flexing his fingers. Any particular reason? I want to roll my eyes, but I find myself infuriatingly fixated by him. I'm just fond of being on time, that's all. A quiet, contemplative hum, and he seems unconvinced. Oh, I love the scene that happens if you challenge him to read your mind. You know, you could easily just read my mind. Find out for yourself if you're so intrigued. His curiosity is obviously piqued, but he seems hesitant. I'm just teasing you. You don't have to do that. I reach for him, curling my fingers around his wrist. The distinct lack of a pulse is disturbing. I trust you. His smile fades briefly, and he carefully pries my hand away. Then he reaches to curl a finger under my chin, tilting my face until our gazes are fixed. He's close enough that I can feel his cool breath upon my skin.
Close your eyes.
I oblige without hesitation. A quiet, gentle whisper of incoherent words fills my mind, and though I can't fathom what they're trying to say, they soothe me. It's like leaves rustling on a gust of wind, the ocean lapping at the shore, someone uttering gentle words of affirmation in my ear. Something calming, something that makes me feel safe and warm. Then, perfect clarity, and I know he's listening. I wanted to see you. I haven't stopped thinking about you. I smile, my eyes still closed. I hear a quiet chuckle and his touch trails along my jaw, his thumb running over my bottom lip.
I haven't stopped thinking about you either.
Murder. Murder. Oh, murder in broad daylight committed by Linares Gaves with Gideon Emery as an accomplice. I opened my eyes, finding him closer than he was just a moment ago. His eyes are glowing, swirling pools of fathomless gold. You heard me? I heard you. Something passes between us, and I feel closer to him than ever. Finn pauses, and with a sorry groan and a roll of his eyes, he carefully withdraws his touch. Before I can ask him what's wrong, I hear a wicked cackle echoing in the tunnels. Well, well, what do we have here? Piper emerges from the shadows, a self-satisfied grin on her face.
Did anyone tell you not to eat the new hunter, Casimir?
He offers me a sorry gaze before returning to Piper with a playful grin.
Come on, Piper. You know I'd only eat her if she asked nicely.
They really did that. Oh my god. Why am I acting surprised? Now it's her turn to roll her eyes, and the noise she makes is one of barely disguised disgust. Save it. I caught you red-handed. Now, we've got important shit to do if you're quite finished. Piper looks at me, and I deduce that she's most definitely fucking with us, and couldn't actually care less. Let's move on. With one final glance, Finn moves to fall into step behind us. Piper snickers, elbowing me as I walk by her side, Finn trailing quietly behind
You
us.
sly fox. Vampires get you hot then? Fighting was never my thing, unfortunately.
Whatever gets your juices flowing, though. With a waggle of her eyebrows, she lets out another laugh, loud enough that surely the whole population of the catacombs can hear. I hear Finn groan, and I can't help but smile at her in return. As we head deeper into the tunnels, everything feels different. There's no longer that comforting golden glow, the jagged stonework now illuminated by unnervingly still, vibrant blue mage light. Piper's demeanor changes, and I hear Finn pipe up behind us.
We're not in my territory anymore. Stay alert.
Then he suddenly stops in front of us, bringing us to a halt. Wait, stop here. I can feel the barrier. It's close. So now what? I stare at Finn's prosthetic, the edges glowing, but still dull. We wait for Ezra's signal. We stand in silence, and Finn begins to shift where he stands. It seems unnatural for him to look so nervous. Casimir, if you don't stand still... He huffs, clearly frustrated. Fiyero, you will look for him, won't you? Piper narrows her eyes, but her expression quickly softens when she looks at me. We'll look for him. We will.
Thank you. I know you may not be able to free him if he is there, but just tell him we'll get him out, whatever it takes.
Then Finn's arm begins to thrum, the markings coming to life and illuminating the tunnel. He looks down at his glowing palm, flexing his fingers, and he smiles. It's go time.
Let's do this.
Adrenaline courses through my veins at the thought of what may lie ahead, and I take a step forward to head into the shadows. Before I get too far, I feel a cold hand gently gripping my wrist. Finn looks to Piper, his gaze pleading. Piper rolls her eyes.
Yes, fine. Quickly, though. We don't have time for anything overly dramatic, you big dead idiot.
The line definitely says romantic, but I like dramatic too. She disappears, but I know she's not gone too far. Charming, isn't she? Terribly. He brings my hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to my knuckles.
I know you can handle yourself, but come back to me quickly, okay?
Of course I will. I smile, trying not to get lost in him, to remember the mission. I will. I swear it. He releases my hand, our fingertips brushing as I step away. I'll signal from the forest exit if you need to leave. Stay alert. See you on the other side. I glance over my shoulder as I move to join Piper, but Finn is already gone. Surprisingly, or maybe not, the entrance to the dungeons remains unguarded, and that unnerving yet familiar blue mage-like guides our way. Piper eagerly rushes towards the first empty spot. God, I'm reading too far ahead. Piper eagerly rushes towards the first empty cell, eyeing the small, frail, fey-like creature that's huddled in the corner. She picks up the clipboard that rests in a wooden holder beside the door. I remember you. Not one of my catches, but a good one. The Fae lifts her head, smiling and exposing a row of shining, razor-sharp teeth. She snickers, the sound more of a hiss than a laugh. We move to the next, doing the same, checking the paperwork. A demon this time, its power subdued by the enchanted cuffs that anchor it to the wall. Piper scoffs, clearly unamused as we make our way down the row, finding no hunters. No Aya. Bullshit. She has to be down here somewhere. Eventually, after what feels like forever, we find a cell that piques Piper's interest. In the shrouded darkness, I see a set of startling crimson eyes staring back at us, and the figure cautiously approaches. He looks gaunt for a vampire, his clothes hanging off his slender frame, his cheeks drawn and a cut far sharper than what the beauty of his immortality may have already afforded him. Piper surges forward, curling her fingers around the thick iron bars. Fiero, what have they done to you? Fiero. Piper, what are you doing here? His voice is deep. I cannot and will not try to do a male voice. I try and fail to get a read on his aura. Oh, you know, just taking a stroll. What do you bloody think? His bright gaze flickers to me, and he shakes his head, his blank expression unchanging. You'll get no reading from me, Hunter. Then I remember, he's an empath, skilled in both masking his own emotions and reading others. I wonder just how powerful he is. Finn and the clan have been looking for you. He blinks, his movements groggy. I don't doubt that. Please, tell them not to try and break me out. I've no doubt that Finnegan will be dramatic when you tell him of my whereabouts. Of course he will. Piper grabs his notes, tutting loudly as she scans the page.
Oh, Fiero. Unsanctioned feeding on an enforcer. Resisting arrest. You naughty boy.
You know that's not true. They appear to have set me up quite beautifully. Why you? What happened? His stillness is unnerving after being around vampires like Finn. Vampires who do an excellent job at fooling you into thinking they're at least a little bit human. Hi. Ah. I sensed someone in a great deal of distress in the forest. I didn't want to rally the whole clan for something that was likely insignificant, so I managed to convince Finnegan to allow me to investigate alone. I discovered a wounded enforcer near the outskirts of town. They'd been bitten, probably by a wandering youngling that, by the look of the mess it had made of them. I tried to help, to assist them in getting back to town, but I quickly realized that the enforcers had me surrounded. They apprehended me, and I've been here ever since. Piper growls, roughly shoving the clipboard back in its holder. What the fuck are they doing? Harry struck a deal with your clan long ago, and you don't cause any trouble. If anything, you do a better job of keeping the town safe than most of the other hunters. Fiero blinks at her, his mouth twitching ever so slightly. No good deed goes unpunished, Piper. Oh, it's not funny, but it's like, it just, every time. Every damn time. Every time I see it. The first time I ever played this game, I took a screenshot of it and saved it because it made me laugh. There's no way it's not a Wicked reference, right? Oh yeah, when Linares Games responded to me about it, they were absolutely being tongue-in-cheek, which told me that it totally is. Like, they were being super jokey about it. I think they even implied that there were supposed to be, like, other references, but I was never really looking for them, so I haven't paid attention. Alright, I'm gonna try and see if we can get through this section. I'm gonna ask if they pardoned him. Actually, I might save it for this conversation and be done. Okay, so tired. Have they hurt you at all? They have not beaten me, nor have they tried to, and I'm not interested in being a troublesome prisoner. I feel a but coming. But they have been taking my blood. You fucking what? That seems pretty important. Leading with that would have been handy. His lips twitch as if he might be considering smiling. He rolls up his sleeve, and his forearm is covered in angry bruises. I've never seen a vampire mark this easily. Unless they've been starving you. He covers his arm, nodding. Yes. Piper's gaze is fixed firmly upon the ground, her brows furrowed. She's restless and agitated. I am too. What could they possibly want your blood for? I wish I knew. None of this makes sense. Have you seen any humans being brought down here? Specifically hunters. They keep the others far away from me, as you can see. He's right. There are at least 5 or 6 empty cells between him and the next occupied one. Though I might have sensed something. I assumed at first it was my hunger dulling my senses, but... His brow furrows. I'm confused about what species they are. Their scent is unusual. Unusual how? It wasn't human, but it also wasn't something I'm familiar with either. No creature that I've ever come across, anyway. And I've lived long enough to know when something isn't right, when something is new. I look at Piper, and she's doing everything she can to avoid eye contact. She's thinking about Aya. I can feel worry rolling off her in waves. Piper.
I need to know if my friend is alive.
Fiyero offers her a sorry look, the most animated he's been thus far. I suspect that he can feel her pain and her anger. I wish I could offer some clarity, but I cannot. All I know is that your enforcers aren't the honorable agency that they claim to be. Something dangerous is afoot. She visibly deflates, her shoulders sagging and her balled fists relaxing. What are they doing? I've dedicated my life to these people, so have you. I nod, a lump in my throat. I feel sick, everything inside me screaming, telling me this is all wrong. If Aya has been here, there'll be a trace. There has to be. You're right. We should keep looking. I clutch the bars, getting closer to Fiyero. I can't set him free right now, not when we don't know how much time we have, but I won't leave him here to wither and die. We'll get you out of here. Soon. Somehow I don't doubt that, Hunter. Piper tugs at my sleeve. We may not have much time. Fiyero quietly sinks back into the darkness of his cell, and I watch him settle upon the ground. It pains me to leave him, but I know he'll be okay. He survived Levi. He can survive this. We find the warden's desk and rifle through the drawers with haste, and Piper gasps as she sets her sights on a bundle of prisoner manifestos, the type that should be outside the cells. These are incomplete. Why are they tucked away in here? She reads them quickly, her eyes frantic as she scans the messy writing. I see her resisting the urge to crumble the parchment. She hands it to me and turns away, her hands in her hair. All of the other occupied cells had their paperwork neatly displayed outside, listed as their species, arrest date, offense, and an abundance of useless little details to keep the enforcers busy. But these two, apparently hidden sheets that Piper has given me, are different. General Aya Walker and General Azazel Ripley. Oh, you know what? I bet one of them is Ripley. I bet that's supposed to be a reference to, I feel like Aya Walker is also one, actually. Now that I think about it. But Ripley definitely feels like an alien reference. Azazel, I'm not so sure. Who is this Azazel? Piper turns to face me. The hunter that Alcar fought with. Oh, shit. And he's in a cell. They arrested him for getting attacked? I hate to say it for what feels like the trillionth time, but what the fuck? They checked Aya out of her cell last night. Him too. Fuck! But look. She points at the times scribbled next to their names, and there's only a check out. They haven't come back? It's been over 24 hours. They haven't come back. Then a loud banging echoes from down the hallway, and Piper quickly snatches the manifests from my hands, shoving them into her shirt. Let's go. We move as fast as we can while staying cautious. Finn had signaled us for a reason, be it an enforcer guard approaching or the wards being recast. Either way, we need to get out of here. We hear muffled voices drawing nearer and quickly flatten ourselves against the wall, but we're not hidden. The forest exit is in sight. Our escape. Piper turns to look at me.
It's your call, General.
Oh, actually, I remember what I should do here. I think if I remember, waiting is the better option, actually. Piper waits patiently while I decide, trying my hardest not to waste time. If we run, we might alert them to our presence. If we don't... I close my eyes, shutting everything else out around me. I can hear them. Two people, seemingly not aware of our presence. Yet. Casual conversation, footsteps drawing nearer, but from the dungeon entrance, far away from us. I open my eyes and hold up my hand, signaling for Piper to wait. We can make it. I know we can. I shake my head, listening, waiting. Their voices grow quieter, footsteps upon a staircase, and then they're gone. Go, now. We step forward, pushing open the heavy door with ease. Cool, crisp air hits my face, and I spot a tall figure waiting for us. You mean my man?
Ah, you made it.
He ushers us away from the door, pushing it closed as quietly as he can. Follow me. He leads us just a short distance away and into a small clearing where we can still see the surprisingly well-hidden dungeon exit. What did you find? Enough to tell us who we truly cannot trust. Finn's mouth is set in a thin line, and he nods, taking the hit not to pry further just yet. There are guards approaching. Routine perimeter search. You should head out.
We should split up, just to be safe. I'll head home and get these hidden.
She pats her pocket where the manifests are safely tucked away. Just what I've always wanted. Being left alone in these fucking woods again. The clan are scattered around the forest. If you see the creature, don't engage. Not after what happened to Hex. Piper nods, her face grim. Later. I turn to Finn quickly, needing to tell him about his friend. Fiyero is in there. He's alive. Well, you know. Ish. He's alive. I smile at his obvious glee. We found Fiyero. We found evidence. We got in and got out without getting detected. Tonight was not wasted, and neither was it a complete disaster. Finn's smile is bright, and I sense mischief is afoot if the way he's looking at me is any indicator.
I could kiss you.
What's stopping you? Piper's a hottie? Dude, Piper's a babe. He pulls me into a tight embrace, lifting me with a startling ease. I slide down his broad form as he carefully releases me, my feet finding solid ground. I let my palms rest against his chest, getting lost in the way his eyes shine. He's happy, and in turn, so am I. You could? He opens his mouth to speak, but his expression quickly shifts. You need to go. Now. They're close. I'll distract them if needs be. You being caught out here after papers going missing in there is not something we want them to put together. Head south. A friend is waiting for you. Didn't think we'd leave you out here all alone again, did you? A friend? Just go. The tone of his voice tells me I don't have time to question him. He's right, too. I shouldn't be seen here, no matter how innocent it might look on the surface. I head south as instructed, hearing a rustling in the tree line. Hey. I stopped dead in my tracks at the sight of him, huffing. Hey, yourself. So, you're the friend then? I'm the friend, whatever that means. Come on, follow me. Keep up. Alcar keeps glancing over his shoulder at me as we move deeper into the forest, following a trail in the dirt so faint I could barely detect it. I almost want to tell him that he needn't be worried about me disappearing in a puff of smoke, but the weighty, grim silence and what I have just learned kills the calm in my chest. It takes some time for me to realize, but the boulder in the woods Alcar eventually stops at has the outline of an opening to it. With a smirk thrown over his shoulder at me, he bends and presses his palm into the dirt. So this is where you've been hiding all this time. This is pretty new. But Omen started hanging around more. Sometimes he wanted to stay with me, wanted to give Ezra space, you know? So... I watch his shoulders rise and fall in a sharp, short shrug. Can't leave him out in the cold, even if he doesn't feel it. Speaking of, he's down here with me. With a final grunt, Alcar slides back what seems a patch of grass and dirt. The entrance's disguise impressively convincing. He reveals a narrow stone staircase leading down under the earth. I come to stand next to him, peering into the abyss. Not that it is dark down there. I see the dim glow of a fire, and I can tell it's warmer down there than up here.
Ezra's a miracle worker, huh?
Jeez.
And Finn. You won't believe what a clan of vampires and a witch with a desire to nurture you at any given opportunity can do once they put their minds to it.
It's true. With a smirk, he beckons me to go ahead. I oblige and hear him slide the hatch door close above our heads. Alright. I'm gonna save it there. And call the stream for this evening. We went a solid 3 hours, and I tire. I'm tired. So I am gonna hit the main menu if it'll let me. Oops. But I thank you guys for hanging out and giggling at me. Yes, tomorrow I'm going to be back to Dragon Age Origins. I should be going live around the same time. It'll depend on one other thing that I have to do in between. But, yep, I am going to try to make myself go to sleep at a decent hour. I was up until 3 a.m. yesterday. And that was with me trying to go to sleep. I don't know why that happened. But, you know, is what it is. So I'm going to hit the hay. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evenings. I am stalling because I have to open YouTube in order to turn off the stream. Hold on. Okay. There we go. All right. You guys have a good rest of your nights. I will see you in Discord and tomorrow. Good night.